We are going to bring this meeting to order, but first, I would like to read the city's land acknowledgement. The West Hollywood City Council acknowledges that the land on which we gather, and that is currently known as the City of West Hollywood, is the occupied, unceded, seized territory of the Gabrielino Tongva and the Gabrielino Quiche peoples. I'm calling this meeting of the June 9th, 2025 City Council meeting to order. It is 6:03 p.m. And I know we have a very special guest with us tonight. Will Brendan Benaroya please come up to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great job. Thank you for being here. City Clerk, may we please have a roll call?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Erickson.
Here.
Councilmember Hain.
Here.
Councilmember Meister.
Here.
Vice Mayor Hill.
Here.
And Mayor Byers.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. May we please have a report of the closed session, City Attorney? Thank you.
Yes, good evening. The City Council met in closed session tonight beginning at 5:30 p.m. There were no members of the public here to speak on the posted agenda. The City Council spoke about the one item listed on the public agenda, which was public employment, title City Manager position, and the closed session concluded at 5:55. The Council took no reportable actions. That concludes my report.
Thank you. We'll move on to the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes from staff on the agenda?
Yes, Mayor. Staff is requesting that agenda item B4 and agenda item SS1 be moved to the June 23rd meeting.
Which ones?
Okay, so that's the adoption of the ordinance updating the municipal code requiring neighborhood meetings. And then we have the study session number 1, the drone as a first responder pilot program update. Those will both be continued to June 23rd. Do my colleagues have changes? Councilmember Erickson?
Wonderful. I'll start with maybe a logistical change. Wondering if we could do what we did last time to get, I think we can knock out the commission appointments up right before our public hearings? No?
No,
Later?
I was
Okay.
going to ask to table those altogether.
Oh, you want to table them all together? Okay. Sorry. Could we move, well, it's my item, but F4, the co-sponsorship of the Out Loud Sports item. Okay. F3, which is, I guess, both of our items, sorry. F2, the resolution to modify the basis and method of living assessment with the West Hollywood Design District. Okay. And then I was going to try to do...
How about F1?
F1, sorry, yes.
Okay, so we have F1, F2, F3, F4, move to consent. E1, the advisory board and commission appointments tabled. We'll have, and then Vice Mayor Heilman.
Yes, I'm wondering if we could, I don't know if there are many speakers on items C1, C2, C3. Those are sort of routine reapprovals of bids. I'm wondering if we could move those to right before our study session.
We only have one speaker for C2.
Okay, maybe we could actually even combine the three of them for our hearing and move them all before the study session. Lauren?
I think that's okay, but I want you to take separate motions on each three of the items, and if there's limited public speakers here for it, I think you can do them together.
Okay, so we'll take C1, C2, C3, all of the public hearing items together ahead of the study session on homelessness.
Great.
I believe that's all we can do.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'll move the agenda as amended.
Great. Okay, and we have an agenda.
Yay.
Thank you. Do we have any Levine Act disclosures based on the agenda tonight, my colleagues? No?
No.
Oh, okay. Then we will go on to adjournment motions. Do any of my colleagues have adjournment motions? Councilmember Meister?
Thank you, Mayor. First, I'd like to adjourn in memory of Michael Lee, a creative force and a beloved member of the West Hollywood community. While some may not have known his name, many will recognize the bold clothing brand he created, Jocko. Michael passed away recently at the age of 70 following a courageous 15-month battle with lung cancer. He will be deeply missed by his family and the many friends who loved him. My second adjournment tonight is in memory of Edmund Ebuniwe, the beloved father of Chiedo, who serves on the LGBTQ+ Commission. Edmund passed away at the age of 89 at his home, surrounded by his wife of 57 years and his children who loved him deeply. He was a truly wonderful man, thoughtful, curious, and full of purpose. In his final days, his family cared for him at home, just as he had cared for them throughout his life. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Do any of my colleagues have an adjournment motion? Councilmember Erickson.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I'd like to adjourn in memory of Therese Dion Robinson, who was the mother of Mallory Robinson, who serves on our Transgender Advisory Board. Therese Robinson, aka Tufi, was born a twin to Talise D. Robinson on November 18th, 1971, to Giles Sr. and Annie Robinson, being a bonus daughter to Tommy J. Hill. Therese attended D.C. Wolf in Shorter, Alabama, graduating in June 1990. She began college at Auburn University in Montgomery and eventually graduating from Troy University, earning a bachelor's degree. Therese enjoyed babysitting any and everybody's kids, loved the finer things in life, shopping, reading books, doing gardening with her mom, and listening to old school R&B and gospel music daily. She will be deeply missed by her family, her friends, and our hearts go out to her daughter, Mallory.
Thank you both. Vice Mayor?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I request that we adjourn tonight in memory of Edmund White, the acclaimed author and LGBTQ+ advocate. He passed away June 3rd at his home in New York City. He's best known for his landmark novel, A Boy's Own Story. He co-founded the Gay Men's Health Crisis in New York. He also co-authored The Joy of Gay Sex. He made an indelible impression on gay culture at the time. His efforts to create and shape public understanding and support during the AIDS epidemic were monumental. And over his career, he published more than 30 books and was recognized with lifetime honors. He is survived by his husband, Michael Carroll. I would request that we adjourn in his memory tonight.
Thank you. And I will also add an adjournment request. I request that we adjourn tonight's memory in the name of Danny Duran, a respected entertainment publicist who for more than 25 years founded boutique agencies. He died last Wednesday, June 4th, after an 8-month battle with cancer. He's a longtime resident of West Hollywood here, and he's really known and respected for the work he did to take the Trevor Project to the nationally recognized organization it is. He was a tireless champion for his friends, his clients, and the causes he believed in. We're really lucky to have him as a member of the West Hollywood community. And he's survived by his husband, Blaine, his sister, Daniela, his brother-in-law, Kevin, and his nieces, Alana and Isabel, and his parents, Marie and Danny Sr. Thank you all. We'll move into presentations. And first, we have to recognize Brendan, who did such a fabulous job leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you so much. Will you please come up and take a photo with all of us and receive this? Okay, and I believe I get to turn over the microphone to Vice Mayor Heilman to lead us in our next presentation.
Yes, this presentation is a bit bittersweet because we're losing somebody from our West Hollywood Senior Center, and that is Marina Berkman. Marina has been just a dedicated director there. She has dedicated over 3 decades of her life to serving the West Hollywood community through her work with Jewish Family Service of Los Angeles. She has been the program director of the West Hollywood Comprehensive Services Center operated by JFS. She was originally born in Estonia, and she began her professional career as a school psychologist and later immigrated to the United States in 1991. She later earned a master's degree in marriage and family therapy. Since joining in JFS in 1992, Marina has served as an incredible therapist, social worker, educator, and ultimately the program director, guiding a team of just really compassionate people who serve our West Hollywood community. They serve our older adults, they serve immigrants, they serve Holocaust survivors, and vulnerable community members. They have such a degree of expertise, grace, and unwavering commitment. I think sometimes when we see the senior population or older adult population of West Hollywood, we tend to see the people who come to community meetings, who are active in the community, but that doesn't represent the entire picture of the older adults in West Hollywood. We have plenty of people who are living alone, isolated, who are going through serious health problems, who have serious disabilities, and Marina and her team at JFS helps those individuals navigate systems of care that are oftentimes complex and difficult to navigate. She helps their families move those people when necessary to another appropriate level of care. And for all of this dedication, hard work, compassion, and love for our community, we wanted to recognize you for all of your incredible work and congratulate you on your retirement, wish you well, but also express a great deal of gratitude from our community for all of your tireless efforts. So please join me, everyone, in congratulating and thanking Marina Berkman, and join me as we present a proclamation. And you can bring your husband down too if you want, Marina.
Well, it's like at the Academy Award, I have prepared my response. And yes, it comes from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so very much for recognizing my efforts to make this community a better place for all community members, that we were able to touch their lives through the services. And, you know, as I often said over the years, that the collaboration between the City of West Hollywood and Jewish Family Service, that's what made the success possible. Because it was very fruitful starting from 1 year after the city became an unincorporated city. And together, we've been able to bring meaningful and lasting changes to the many lives of our community members. And I really hope that this partnership will continue for many years to come, because when I'm fully retired, because right now I'm planning to do a little bit of my private practice, but then I'm ready to stop. I'm planning to move to West Hollywood, so I will be at the receiving end of the incredible services provided by my West Hollywood Comprehensive Service Center. But seriously, I was extremely fortunate to land my first and my only job in America at the West Hollywood Comprehensive Service Center in 1992. And that opportunity, I'm tremendously grateful for, I don't know, my fate, my life, whatever it was, but I'm grateful that that's where I worked all these 33 years. And that everything that I've done for the community, I would not be able to do without my team. They are the ones who do the incredible job. And they are in the trenches. They do it day-to-day work and see clients in their homes and in the office and over the phone. And what we've done over the pandemic, when we learned how to do the services remotely. So everything I have to say for everything that was done over the years, today it's my time to say thank you. First of all, to my husband, who provided unwavering support all these years to me. That was very important. And to all my colleagues, past and present, and to the city staff dedicated to work together with us, and to the city council. Thank you so much for recognizing my efforts.
Thank you again. I know we also feel so fortunate, and I know there are members of the Human Service Commission tonight in the crowd as well, presumably to recognize and honor you. And just thank you so much on behalf of the community for so many years who you served so admirably. We're so fortunate, and thank you. I think I get to turn the mic over to Councilmember Erickson for our next presentation.
Yes. I don't know how we top. Sorry, Rance. Marina, thank you. Just truly, thank you. All right, Rance, you're next. I am really excited that right here in West Hollywood, we get to honor an amazing local journalist who has made sure he's entrenched himself in the community and helped promote not only the benefits of a free press, but writing articles and interviewing hard topics sometimes. But it's great to see such a robust local press going on, and I know that the Beverly Press will very much miss you, Rance, because you really help bolster, I think, a lot of their coverage of the local West Side. So before I say the official things, I just want to say thank you for making sure the free press stands strong and has only gotten stronger, truly. So at this time, I'm really excited to present local journalist Rance Collins with this proclamation. Whereas Rance Collins is a distinguished journalist whose passion for storytelling and dedication to truth-telling has shaped the media landscape in the greater Los Angeles area. And whereas Rance covered the city of West Hollywood and the surrounding communities for the Beverly Press, in addition to contributing to Variety and Los Angeles Magazine, and most recently joined IndieWire. And whereas his compelling coverage and insightful reporting have earned him multiple accolades, including 2 Los Angeles Press Club awards, 2 California News Publisher Association honors, and recognition as the 2024 top journalist for the 51st Assembly District. And whereas his award-winning reporting on the city of West Hollywood, specifically his in-depth series on the Fountain Avenue bike lanes, ooh, big scary topic, earned first place in the Enterprise News Story or Series category from the California News Publishers Association, highlighting the vital role of a local journalism in civic engagement and public discourse. And whereas in addition to his journalistic work, Rance has contributed to a creative and cultural life of Los Angeles as a screenwriter, film producer, podcast co-host of The Envelope Please, and whereas through both his professional achievements and professional volunteerism with organizations such as the American Semitic, Hollywood United Methodist Church, Equality California, and Project Angel Food, Rance has exemplified his commitment to uplifting community voices, advancing equity, and enriching the civic and cultural fabric here locally in West Hollywood and beyond, and I know making his family very, very proud of him. And we're all proud of you too. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that the City Council of the City of West Hollywood hereby congratulates Rance Collins on his recent award and recognizes his outstanding contributions to journalism and is very thankful he won't be calling them the next morning at 8 a.m. asking for quotes about the previous meeting the previous night. That's not in here. I ad-libbed that, but he would call us at 8 a.m. And he was very persistent. And so, Rance, from all of us to you, thank you for being the best and making sure that you put out the truth out there to the community. Come on up and get this proclamation.
It is a very interesting time to be a journalist. Thank you so much for honoring local journalism. I have moved full-time into the entertainment journalism sphere, but I just want to say real quickly, please, 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 everyone continue to support your local journalist. There are several sources that have local news here in Los Angeles. I am partial to the Beverly Press. We have a great person who's come on board to cover West Hollywood. And without these basic community truth tellers, the real truth of what's happening in our world can't be clear. There's a lot of times that what you see on the ticker on one of the national networks might not match what the on-the-ground reporting from the people who actually live in the community have to say. And I think that's the most important thing we can all hear in a time such as this. Thank you so much for being so accessible, all of you. I know I've written stories that some of you haven't liked, and some of the times you've loved me, and sometimes you haven't loved me, and that's probably the way things should be. And I thank you all for loving the city and for standing up for the tenets of what I think it means to be a true American. Thank you.
Thank you, Rance. Thank you both for those presentations. We'll move forward tonight with our public comment. The City Council values your comments. However, pursuant to the Brown Act, the Council cannot take action on items not listed on the posted agenda. The public comment period is limited to 20 minutes with 2 minutes allotted for each speaker. This public comment period is to address the City Council on consent calendar items, other agenda items if the member of the public cannot be present at the time the item is considered, or items of general interest within the jurisdiction of the City Council. Another period is also reserved for general comment later in the meeting for those that could not be heard at this time. Public hearing testimony will only be taken at the time of the hearing. If you signed up to speak on both consent calendar items and general public comment, as well as an item that was moved to the consent calendar, you may take this public comment period to speak on consent calendar items. You may also sign up to speak during the second public comment period for your general public comment. Lastly, speakers should not bring anything to the podium other than a written prepared statement and/or writing materials. City Clerk, how many speakers do we have tonight?
Thank you, Mayor. We have 11 in council chambers, and we have 1 in Zoom.
Okay, great. Let's start with those in chambers tonight. I see on my list first Kevin Burton, followed by Kim Goldstein perhaps, and then David Nash. Thanks, Kevin.
Good evening, Council. I'm Kevin Burton, a resident of West Hollywood, speaking on item B7, the staff update to you all on the northern extension of the Crenshaw or K line from Exposition and Crenshaw all the way up through, we believe, West Hollywood, San Vicente, and on to Hollywood. This is going to be a game changer for the city, and the city staff are doing an exemplary job of pursuing Metro and financing and all the other hoops city has to jump through to bring this extension to reality. I think it's the most thorough job that I've seen. I've been following such efforts for a number of years, and this is especially true of the first last mile study, because unlike some stations in Metro's rail network, we won't have the luxury of large surface parking lots or large surface parking structures being built right next to stations. So there has to be alternatives for people to get to the stations other than driving and parking. It's too often an afterthought that's unfunded, never comes to fruition. We hope that won't happen in West Hollywood. Related to that, a half step on the way to making it easy to get to LAX from West Hollywood occurred last Friday. The K line now goes continuously from Exposition Boulevard down to LAX and on to Redondo Beach. Hooray! And why is that important for us? Because we have several bus lines that go directly to Metro Rail, the Expo line. Line 212 on La Brea, 217 on Fairfax, 105 on La Cienega, which I took down to the Expo line. You can take that to Crenshaw line, and the K line goes straight down to LAX. It's a breeze compared to what we had before. Thank you.
Thank you. Kim Goldstein, followed by David Nash, followed by Sarah Adolphson.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you for the time. My name is Kim Goldstein. I am the new executive director of the June L. Mazur Lesbian Archives. And as thank you very much. It's a very exciting time because, as many of you know, the archives have been volunteer run for 45 years, which is amazing, collecting and protecting lesbian, feminist, and queer women history. And we have members of our board, including our board president, here with us tonight. It wouldn't have been possible without their efforts and the efforts of countless volunteers. So we are really excited about this new chapter. It's made possible because we received a grant from the Mellon Foundation. They recognized and they saw the potential with our organization, and now it's really upon us. We have a brand new, not brand new, but full-time archivist for the first time. So it's just a really great time. We'll be sending out a press release soon, but I am thinking that in 2013, my spouse and I were married in this very room. It felt like the world had changed. It felt so much love. And I'm reminded, with everything happening today and everywhere, that it's very important that we make sure that that we don't lose our history, that we make invisible voices visible, and we continue to collect and protect and become a resource for academics, researchers, and the community. We love being headquartered in the city of West Hollywood, and I love coming to work every day in West Hollywood, and I look forward to getting to know all of you more. Thank you.
Thank you for being here to introduce yourself tonight. David Nash, followed by Sarah Adolphson, followed by Jody Litvack.
Good evening to the mayor and council. First, I want to compliment the mayor. At the last meeting, it really hit me what a sharp and fine reader you are, and I appreciate how clearly and cleverly you go through the things that you have to read. I'd also like to congratulate and wish well the Director of Jewish Family Services. Over the 26 years that I've lived here, I've accessed many services through their organization, and I greatly appreciate the services that I continue to access through them. One thing I'm here to talk about, to change subjects, I've talked about before, but gotten no follow-up from anyone in the city about improving this, and that is the curb dips for wheelchairs and other people who have trouble with level changes need to have the yellow caps on them. And it's my understanding that the policy is, as told to me by Danny Rivas, that they're only replaced, or the yellow cap is only added when the building on the corner is remodeled. I think that policy is obsolete. There is only one yellow cap on the intersection at Santa Monica and San Vicente. If you walk up this sidewalk, you'll notice that the curb that ends the park, one of the yellow markers is so dirty and filthy, you can hardly see it. On the other side of the alley, it is brightly painted yellow. And I'm really curious what crew would come through and do one side of the alley and not the other. But this needs to be changed. Whether you're in a vehicle, which fortunately I can get up out of and walk around, but I do use it when I'm tired or an injury has popped up. I go to therapy twice a week, and I wanted you to know that it's very difficult if you miss the mark and bump into the edge of the curb coming up or drive off of it. And they should be on all our major intersections. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah Adolphson, followed by Jody Litvack, followed by Mike Nettle.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, staff, and members of the public. My name is Sarah Adolphson, and I'm here on behalf of the Human Services Commission to share information about vital social services provided by our city partners. First, I want to thank and congratulate Marina, who I know just left, on the incredible impact that she has made on our community. She is a gem. Second, I want to acknowledge that June is Pride Month, and approximately 40% of West Hollywood residents identify as LGBTQ+. Unfortunately, as many of us know, there are more than 500 anti-LGBTQ bills throughout the U.S. that seek to restrict access to health care, weaken civil rights, remove bodily autonomy, and jeopardize educators. To address this, the City of West Hollywood partners with numerous agencies that fight for and support our LGBTQ+ community through a wide range of services. These include the LA LGBT Center, which offers medical care, sexual and mental health services, food resources, and legal services with specialized programs for LGBTQ+ older adults, survivors of violence, youth, people in need of housing, and substance use recovery services. The Trans-Latina Coalition provides services for transgender, gender nonconforming, and intersex community members. Services include peer case management, workforce development, and referrals to shelters, housing, and other supportive resources. And Being Alive, APLA Health, Project Angel Food, and the Men's Health Foundation all provide services for LGBTQ+ community members living with HIV or AIDS. The City of West Hollywood and our Human Services Commission continue to be staunch advocates for the dignity and equal rights of our LGBTQ+ community. If you or someone you know needs support from any of these services or others, please visit weho.org/human services or call the city's Human Services Division at 323-848-6510. Thank you.
Thank you. Jody Litvack, followed by Mike Nuttall, followed by Karen Ayers.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. I'm Jody Litvack, and I wanted to come to the Council meeting tonight to thank you for appointing me recently to the Transportation and Mobility Commission as an at-large member. I appreciate the confidence you've shown in me. As I believe you know, I recently left Metro after a more than 3-decade career, during which at times I worked with West Hollywood City staff and directly with some of you, especially those of you who have more seniority on the Council. either directly on city matters, with the COG, or other things. I've lived in the area nearly all my life, including the 1 year I lived in West Hollywood on Westmount in my early 20s. My late husband and I moved into the city 9.5 years ago, and I continue to love living here. I'm excited to help serve my city in this new capacity, beginning at the next commission meeting when I believe I'll be sworn in. I would also welcome the opportunity to meet with any of you to better learn about your issues and priorities relative to mobility. If that's something you would like to do, I'm sure the city staff can help make that happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mike Nuttall, followed by Karen Ayers, followed by Rick Watts.
Hi there, Mike Nuttall from the Tri-West area. I just want to say I finished on Saturday AIDS Life Cycle. Thank you. For those who don't know, it's the 545-mile bike ride from San Francisco to LA. This was my 12th year doing it. So in totality, I've put over 40,000 miles on the road with my bike. And something that I heard in the last city council meeting, and one of the days when I was riding, I thought about it a lot, was the inconvenience people had talked about with bike lanes sometimes. And I just want to say, I went to AIDS Life Cycle and asked them for the accidents that we had on the ride, which was 2 broken collarbones, 3 broken arms, and a few people getting stitches. They all happened where there weren't bike lanes. So I just want to say that I am extremely grateful, happy, and want to thank you very much for looking out for bicyclists, for putting bike lanes in our community, and for making sure that people are safe. So thank you.
Karen Ayers, followed by Rick Watts, followed by Alexandra Magellan.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council members. I apologize for being dressed down today. Been running around. I'm here just to let you know that, well, as you know, we have a administration that is against a lot of the very values that we hold dear. And while we strive to provide safety and support to our people's most vulnerable people, like immigrants, the LGBT community, people of color, people living with disabilities. We have an administration that is either indifferent or outright cruel. And that's why this Saturday we're going to be having a rally in West Hollywood Park at 11 a.m. It's the No Kings protest, and the West Hollywood community welcomes everyone there, and we'll have speakers. We're going to peacefully protest. We're going to gather and share some strength and stand up against the current administration. And I hope to see you all there. And I want to thank Councilmember Meister and her sister Debbie for organizing this very important event on Saturday. So that's this Saturday, 11 a.m., West Hollywood Park. Thank you very much.
Rick Watts, followed by Alexandra Magellan, followed by Lisa Cabellos.
Evening, Council. Rick Watts, City of West Hollywood. I'd like to join also in congratulating Mike and all the other riders of the AIDS Life Cycle. Alas, this was the last one, at least the last one going all the way from Northern to Southern California for the foreseeable future. Over the years, that event has raised more than $300 million to help in education, prevention, and treatment of this disease that still plagues us. It's in the background, but it is still going on. I also want to make mention that although our Pride celebrations of the last couple weekends are over, Pride, of course, always goes on. And as we now go on to other events and commemorations, very notably, we've got Juneteenth coming up. As Dustin Lance Black noted, the struggles of racial injustice, mistreatment of persons of sexual minorities, misogyny, and all of these things, they're all interrelated. The rainbow flag over years has evolved, thankfully, and as you all know, we now have what's called the progress flag that incorporates symbolism, important symbolism, that pays attention to that. And I would like to see, although our flag, I'm glad to see the rainbow flag up and down the boulevard. I'd like to suggest that it's time for the city of West Hollywood to get up to date and swap those flags out for the progress flag, which I think is a much better and more inclusive representation of what our city stands for. Thank you.
Alexandra Magalon, followed by Lisa Cabellos.
Good evening. My name is Alexandra Magallon. My comment is in regards to SS2. So I am a resident of the city of West Hollywood and an associate director of programs of the Trans-Latino Coalition. But before many of you met me, I came to this city or to this county after experiencing a Pride celebration, which I want to say thank you very much for all that you do for our WeHo Pride. But as an outsider coming from Washington State and coming and seeing the Pride celebration, of course, during administrations where we see that our communities continue to be marginalized as transgender people, I sought refuge in the city of LA, or no, the city of West Hollywood, but what I thought was the city of LA, because I saw how impactful Pride was. Then I experienced homelessness. I experienced homelessness in the city of West Hollywood because that is where I experienced Pride. What I'm trying to say is we host in the city of West Hollywood one of the largest Pride celebrations in the world, where we maybe unintentionally invite those who are being targeted for their identities to come to this very city to seek the services that they think that they're going to access, which they don't always access, or they don't always know how to access. The Trans-Latino Coalition is an organization that provides services to those very people. I am fortunate to wake up every single day in the city of West Hollywood, and I think, wow, how lucky I am to have escaped homelessness and now live in a beautiful city where I feel protected. I hope that this is not just something for me, but something for every LGBTQ community coming to the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, council members. Can you guys hear me? So now more than ever doing this.
Wait, please introduce yourself again.
Oh,
Sorry.
Lisa Marie Ceballos. I am from the Trans-Latino Coalition from the TRUE program. I'm one of the managers. Now more than ever during this social political climate, as we navigate clients from the TRUE program that are experiencing homelessness in the city of West Hollywood, and to First Care model, we must ensure that services for diverse and marginalized communities that lack resources to maintain stability. And that is many of the clients that we serve. As me being part of the TRUE program for the last 5 years, I have seen the tremendous change that this program has brought to our community. And it's with your sadness of the social political things that we're going right now that we need more than ever these services for us to continue thriving, for us to continue feeling like we have a right to be alive and to continue getting the much services needed that we need. So I really, really encourage you that when it comes down to the SS2, you really consider the work that Trans-Latina Coalition is doing and the lives that have changed, not only for a little bit, but forever. And yeah, that's how I want to say.
Thank you. I believe we have our last speaker in chambers, Jonathan Wilson. If you wanted to speak, please sign up now. We'll move to Zoom just after.
Good evening. Just want to start off by saying thank you to the wonderful staff for a great Pride, because it really was a good event. You guys outdid yourselves another year. I'm happy, I'm prideful to be part of Pride, right? So thank you for having that. But I'm also here to tell you about Juneteenth. I know you guys have been bored and wondering what you're going to do on June 21st, but guess what? There's a big festival in WeHo Park for you guys. So you guys all come one, come all, bring friends. Everybody who's in the audience, everybody who's a city member, whether they're liaise here, or whether they're a resident here, or they own a business here, please join us on June 21st in West Hollywood City Park between 12 p.m. and 4 p.m. Please keep in mind we're going to have panel discussions, we're going to have a DJ. We're going to have free food for the first 25 people that come. Entertainment, so food trucks, all the fun things. So we have hundreds of people that have already signed up already, who voluntarily signed up, by the way, because it's not mandatory. But please come. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. City Clerk, we can move to Zoom and public comments.
Our speaker on Zoom this evening is Adam Darvish. Adam, you'll have 2 minutes. Please press *6.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and staff. I'm Adam Darvish, a resident. I would like to that I have experienced firsthand as a foreign student entering New York City while immigration office interviewed me and asked me if I had a round-trip ticket to make it back to my country of origin in case that they had to deport me due to the conflict between the two countries. The government agent also raiding my apartment at 6 a.m., searching for things to use as a reason to deport me, and with no luck. And then years later, my parents were detained at Miami airport for just trying to visit me on their vacation for a week in LA from overseas, when their US green card did not even matter or help due to their country of origin. I want to highlight the Alien Enemies Act originated in 1798, an authority that allows detaining and deporting civilians on the basis of their ancestry. It goes too far, and let's be real, it is racist. It must be reconsidered in a country that claims justice and equality for all. We need to learn from our shameful episodes in our nation's past and consider better treatment for all individuals in our great country in order to continue to be the icon of freedom and be a desired place to attract future talents and innovators from other nations. So thank you for your opinions and focus on this matter. And thank you, Councilmember Meister, for this Saturday's event, and your sister. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe that concludes our public comment period. Thank you to all the speakers who came out tonight. We will move now into our first item, the public hearings.
City manager?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I was excited. There it is. City manager, will you please deliver your report? Acting city manager.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, and members of the public. I have several updates for you this evening. First, I'd like to let you know that the city invites community members to attend and provide public comment at a meeting of the City Council Plummer Park Ad Hoc Subcommittee this Wednesday, June 11th at 5 p.m. at Plummer Park Community Center. There will be more meetings and engagement opportunities during this summer. And if you'd like to learn more, you can visit our website at go.weho.org/Plummer Park Plan. And we invite all of you to attend this meeting and learn more about the program. I also would like to celebrate our immense celebration of Pride. As you know, as LGBTQ rights are under attack across the nation, celebrating Pride Month is a powerful expression of identity, authenticity, and resilience. I'd like to share a huge thanks to everyone on our city council, city staff, on the production team, and from the community who participated in WeHo Pride this year to make it so outstanding. Whether you joined WeHo Pride festivities in person or caught the buzz from afar by watching on KTLA Channel 5, this year, I think we all can agree was a joyful and vibrant celebration. There is still community group programming throughout June. Please visit www.wehopride.com for additional details. In addition, 3 members of our city council represented the city of West Hollywood at World Pride and the World Pride Parade this past weekend in Washington, D.C., and I'm sure they'll have more comments later on this evening. But happy Pride Month to everyone. I have great news also about the Holloway Transitional Housing Project. This project is set to receive its certificate of occupancy tomorrow. It's been long coming, but we are so happy to report this amazing milestone, and our partner Ascensia will begin moving staff starting next week to begin to get ready for operations, and occupancy is expected later this summer. So congratulations on this amazing project, and we're very excited. I would also like to share with all of you that the federal immigration and customs enforcement raids across the LA region this weekend have caused fear and unrest, including arrest and protests. The City of West Hollywood strongly condemns these actions and the deployment of the California National Guard. As some of you may be aware, the city released a statement yesterday posted at weho.org/news, which in some states that these raids are discriminatory, destabilizing, and unacceptable. Immigrant communities are vital to our society and economy. We oppose tactics that intimidate or tear families apart. We stand with neighboring cities in speaking out against these operations, and we will continue to monitor the situation, and we remain dedicated to public safety and uninterrupted city services. I would also like to add that our city is also working with the LA County Sheriff's Department, which has also released a message that states that the Sheriff's Department is aware of the presence and operations of federal law enforcement agencies within our communities, but do not participate in civil immigration enforcement. Deputies do not inquire about immigration status during service calls, and the sheriff's focus is public safety and not immigration action. Just wanted you to be aware of this latest development. And now I would like to ask Danny Rivas, our Director of Community Safety, to come up to provide a very brief update on a couple of items. I will remind you that these items are not on the agenda this evening, and if you have additional questions, we can bring an item at a future meeting of the City Council. Danny?
Thank you, Acting City Manager Rocco, and good evening, Mayor Byers, Vice Mayor Howman, and members of the City Council. I'm Danny Rivas, Director of Community Safety for the city. I wanted to provide a response to the City Council on public comment received last month related to the unpermitted street vending that frequents the city during the weekends and evening hours. So to provide some context, since the passage of Senate Bill 946 in 2018, and Senate Bill 972 in 2022, cities across the state cannot ban sidewalk vending and are only able to enforce upon unpermitted street vendors through the issuance of an administrative citation process. What this means is if a code enforcement officer or a sheriff's deputy is able to make contact with an unpermitted street vendor, then their only recourse would be to issue an administrative citation, which is a civil fine, with only the recourse of that being that it negatively impacts somebody's credit score if the citation goes unpaid. So in addition to that, this penalty process has proven to be very challenging for all cities, including West Hollywood, that are attempting to address unpermitted street vendors, because most of the street vendors observed operating throughout the state, including West Hollywood, are not concerned about their credit score being negatively impacted. Nonetheless, code enforcement staff do respond to calls for service as it relates to unpermitted street vending, and also do proactive patrols in our entertainment districts as much as possible. Most recently, community safety staff did meet with the Los Angeles County Department of Public Health to try to engage in partnering and potentially contracting with the health department to enhance their presence as it relates to providing compliance checks and enforcement for unpermitted street vendings. The county did express that they are willing for us to enter into an MOU with them. However, they were unable to commit to a set schedule because they do have very limited resources, and they also shared with us that they have at least a 2-month backlog of complaints that they're addressing countywide that they receive from the supervisor district's office. So we'll continue to address these issues to the extent that we can. In addition to that, I do want to share to the council, the community, that we have our West Hollywood Sheriff Station entertainment policing team that works very closely with our code enforcement team in the weekends and in the evening hours. Our entertainment policing team deputies have not been able to confirm any sort of criminal activity that was shared. They'll continue to be vigilant and continue to do patrol checks in the area and respond to calls as they emerge. So that concludes my update.
Great, thank you, Danny. One more message. I would like to ask the members of our community to join us to celebrate and commemorate Juneteenth on June 21st from 12 to 4 p.m. at West Hollywood Park, and more details are available on the city calendar. And also, Helen Collins connected with David Nash, and we'll follow up on his comments earlier today. And that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to the fiscal impact on tonight's consent calendar.
Thank you, Mayor. With the addition of items F1, F2, F3, F4, and the exclusion of B4, we have $607,974 in expenditures, $0 in revenues, and $4,125 in waived fees.
We have a motion and a second. Thank you. Okay. Motion passed. Thank you very much, everyone. I think now we can move to that public hearing I was so eager for. We're taking all three at the same time, C1, C2, C3. I see our staff representatives joining us at the table. Thank you. So we'll now hear public hearing items C1, C2, C3, which are the adoption of resolution confirming the Sunset Strip Business Improvement District annual report, the adoption resolution confirming the West Hollywood Design District annual report, the confirmation of the levy of an assessment district for the Santa Monica Boulevard Maintenance District. Over to you.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and City Council.
I'm doing it
yes, go
again.
ahead.
The public hearing is now open. Are there any disclosures from my colleagues?
None.
Great. And City Clerk, how was this hearing noticed?
As required by law, Mayor.
Okay, now it's over to you. Thank you.
Not a problem. Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Laura Byrie, Director of Economic Development for the city. I'm joined tonight by my colleagues, Paolo Kesperdet, your Business Development Manager, as well as Laura D'Ambrosia, your Business Development Analyst. Tonight, we're combining the three public hearings for discussion. I'm going to turn it over to our Business Development Manager, Paolo Kesperdet, to give a very brief presentation, and then we'll be available to answer any questions from the Council or the community.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. As Laura had mentioned, tonight's items that were combined together is the annual reestablishment process of our business improvement districts and the Santa Monica Boulevard Landscaping and Lighting District. Just a couple things I do want to point out as part of these public hearings. For the Sunset Strip Business Improvement District, the item does include a one-year change to the assessment structure. The advisory board voted to reduce the fees for businesses in categories 1 through 15 to $500, while remaining businesses in category 16 to $200. So that remains unchanged as part of that one-year temporary change in the assessment. Also, it includes an agreement for services with the West Hollywood Chamber of Commerce, and also an overview of the Sunset Strip work plan and strategy that staff is currently working on. For the West Hollywood Design District, there is no assessment change as part of the assessment structure. However, we did include an agreement for services with the West Hollywood Chamber of Commerce for the management of the bid. For the Santa Monica Boulevard Landscaping District, it does include an increase for the assessment of 31 cents, and that is in relation to the annual CPI adjustment of about 3.5%. Additionally, it includes an agreement for services with Travalo and Associates for some new leased lighting on Santa Monica Boulevard as part of our holiday decoration. I know everyone has been anxiously awaiting that, so we are proud to come back with that on behalf of the City Council. And with that, that includes our very brief report. If there are any questions, staff is available to answer any that the council may have.
And I believe we do have public comment, so do my colleagues have any questions that we'd like to take first? Okay, let's hear our public commenters, and then we'll come back to discussion deliberations.
Have Greg Rang on item C2.
Good evening, Mayor Byers, Vice Mayor Heilman, esteemed City Council, Acting Mayor Rocco, Acting Mayor,
I forgive you.
Acting City Attorney Rocco, and City Attorney Langer. Thank you for this opportunity. I submitted public comment earlier in my support and my gratitude for your support of the design district. I simply wanted to show up in person so you could see the gratitude on my face and to remind you to please come out this week. There is a pop-up at Atacama Home tomorrow night. There is an art opening at Hamilton Selway on Thursday, as well as at Art Angels on Thursday, which is just indicative of the very vibrant scene that we've created in the design district, and look forward to sustaining with your support. Thank you.
Thank you. There are no other public comments. We can begin with deliberation, discussion. Do my colleagues have anything they'd like to discuss? No, seems fairly great. Councilmember Erickson, you're jumping in?
Yes, I would like to make an individual motion for, you want us to do one by one? C1, and that would include closing the public hearing.
Great. It looks like we have a motion and a second on the table. And before we take that, given that C1 is specific to the Sunset Strip, I just want to say that we have heard a lot of desire from the community to see more invigoration on the Sunset Strip. And when we make a decision like this to invest in an organization and support the relaunch of an organization and work with an entity like the Chamber to do this, it gives us great new capacity to do great things on the Sunset Strip. So I just want to communicate that to the public since we're cramming a bunch of items into one complicated public hearing tonight. I'm really excited to see this and really looking forward to the work plan coming into motion. Okay. Item C2. Any discussion, deliberation, motion, and a second?
I'm waiting. There we go. And my motion includes closing the public hearing.
Great.
I'm going to let someone else have fun for the next one.
And then we have our final item, C3. Do we have, I think you have to go back to the on the floor. There you go.
And the motion includes closing the public hearing.
Terrific. Great. Okay, public hearing is now over. Thank you all so much. That was easy. We'll move back to our study session, then item SS2, City Council Study Session on Homelessness. Why don't we just take a quick moment since two council members have not left the dais? Let's get started with this item at 7:10, just for clarity to the public, since it's unclear.
In a hop. No.
It's great to see our friends from the Trans Latina Coalition after being all fabulous 2 weekends in a row at the Pride Parade. So it's great that you're here. Just so you know, I was clocking your outfits the whole time on social media, so I just want to let you know.
Okay. We can go ahead and get started.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Thank you for the opportunity to present this evening. My name is Christine Seyfried. I'm the Acting Director of Human Services and Rent Stabilization. I'm joined this evening by Danny Rivas, Director of Community Safety, Tariq Carter, Human Services Manager, Anita Shandy, Public Safety Manager, Francisco Gomez, Acting Strategic Initiative Supervisor, Derek Murray, Social Services Supervisor, and a number of our community partners. We work closely with each other and with the City Council Subcommittee on Homelessness to prepare this update and related policy proposal. We are joined by many of our service partners, including representatives from the following agencies. At the end of our presentation, many of these representatives will join us at the microphone to make a brief public comment before we move into general public comment. Tonight with us from the West Hollywood Sheriff's Station, representatives include Fanny Lapkin, Acting Captain, on behalf of this item. From Block by Block Security Ambassadors, we have Erica Leone, General Manager. From Los Angeles County Fire, we have Battalion Chief Joe Spindler. From the CARE team, we have Giovanni Godoy, Program Director, and Ayana Rose, Vice President of Clinical Programs. We have Selena Alvarez, the Executive Director of Housing Works, Marcel Mitchell, the Director of Programs at Essentia, Alicia Brown, Essensia's Case Management Manager of Expansion Programs, Chris Namath, the Director of Programs at the Los Angeles LGBT Center for Youth Services, Amber Gomez, Manager of Case Management at Healthcare in Action, Bamboo Salcedo, President and CEO of Trans Latina Coalition, Clifford Roberts, the Program Manager at Step Up, and Jonah Glickman, the Housing and Homelessness Liaison Representative from LA County Supervisor Horvath's office. So full team for you here tonight to answer any questions that you may have. We appreciate their presence and continued collaboration as well as your focus. Tonight we'll offer an assessment of the city's response to homelessness. We'll highlight the measurable progress that we've made, discuss system gaps, and propose a more structured and coordinated approach to enhance the effectiveness of the city's response to homelessness across departments, with our provider network, with our community safety partners, and with our county agencies. The city's homeless initiative launched in 2016, and in 2018, the council adopted a 5-year strategic plan to guide coordinated service delivery. The plan established 4 guiding principles for the city's response to homelessness, as shown on this slide. The first is to ensure safety and well-being for everyone in the community. The second is to recognize that while the county is responsible for many core systems related to the regional homelessness response, cities like West Hollywood must also lead in collaboration and connection and delivery of services. The third is to build strong partnerships across sectors to integrate housing, health, and supportive services. And the fourth is to approach homelessness with compassion for the individual who is unhoused and the community that is impacted, including residents, businesses, and our visitors. These principles have shaped and sustained our focused investments over the last 7 years, but the context has evolved. And regional systems, as we all know, are strained. New state and regional initiatives have emerged, and community expectations have shifted. To remain effective, our strategy must evolve to align with new service and policy realities. Some of these challenges and the opportunities that come along with them are described herein. West Hollywood continues to be a leader, particularly among small cities, in the scope and depth of its homelessness response. Our efforts span street outreach, housing navigation, mobile health care, harm reduction, legal aid, and rental assistance. These investments reflect a longstanding city commitment to support residents and neighbors with practical help. However, this work operates within a broader regional system that is deeply strained. Across Los Angeles County, homelessness has increased by over 70% since 2015. Only 36% of people who need shelter can access a bed, and the average wait time to move from interim to permanent housing is now more than 9 months. These delays create significant bottlenecks and force people to remain on the streets longer than they would otherwise like, limiting movement through housing programs and increasing their frustration and the frustration of outreach workers, neighbors, and those who are in need. The region also faces a deficit of more than 500,000 affordable housing units, which limits viable exit options for those who are ready to transition into stable housing and makes it precarious for those who have housing to move into other housing. Many of the individuals we serve have high acuity needs, which means that they live with complex combinations of chronic health conditions, mental illness, substance use, and trauma. And while our local providers work hard to build trust and offer services, gaps in the regional system, especially in behavioral health and housing, undermine those efforts. Recent state policies such as SB 43, Care Court, and Prop 1 aim to provide new tools and funding to address those challenges. SB 43 expands the eligibility for psychiatric evaluation holds. Care Court creates a civil court process that can order supportive treatment plans for individuals with serious mental illness. Prop 1 dedicates billions of dollars in new funding for permanent housing and behavioral health infrastructure. These are very important resources, but they also place new responsibilities on the cities and counties. Local jurisdictions must design systems to safely and effectively implement these tools. The pressures are also being felt here in West Hollywood. As the regional system strains, local frustrations are rising. Community members are voicing growing concern that the city's response, while well-intentioned and also successful, may no longer be sufficient in addressing the needs of our community. They point to individuals with untreated mental illness in public spaces, recurring hotspots that don't seem to improve, and perceived gaps between outreach efforts and follow-through. As we explore new frameworks, our goal is to strengthen the coordination, improve accountability, and ensure that West Hollywood remains both a compassionate and responsive city in the face of ongoing regional challenges while better meeting the needs of our constituents. We have had measurable successes over the past 7 years. The city's homeless initiative has delivered outcomes and created lasting infrastructure. 2 of those key successes include permanent housing placements and interim housing placements. Since 2017, the city has supported 367 permanent housing placements. To put this into perspective, in 2017, we were able to place just 24 individuals into permanent housing. By last year, 2024, the number nearly tripled to 72 people in a single year. This growth reflects deep work and partnerships with agencies like Ascensia, Step Up, and the LA LGBT Center, as well as targeted investments in case management and housing navigation. In terms of interim housing placements, these have also increased significantly from 80 in 2017 to 134 in 2024. These placements play a vital role in connecting unhoused individuals to long-term solutions and act as a bridge between the street and permanent housing. The city has also launched 3 major programs over the past, since 2022, that represent a shift in how we support people experiencing homelessness. The first, Healthcare in Action, is a street medicine program which now delivers physical and behavioral health care directly in the field, meeting clients where they are. That program is currently operational 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. In 2023, the city launched the CARE team, which is now a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week non-law enforcement response team. They have responded to over 2,700 calls in this current year to date, 70% of which involve people experiencing homelessness. And finally, as you heard earlier, we are very close to opening to residents the Holloway Interim Housing Program, which will offer 20 non-congregate pet-friendly units with on-site wraparound care. It is an interim housing program and designed to help move people from long-term homelessness into permanent housing. While the numbers give us an important picture, they don't necessarily or fully capture the personal and transformative outcomes created through supportive city services. Success in West Hollywood often means survival, healing, and new beginnings. These are things like reversing potentially fatal overdoses, connecting community members with affirming shelter and care, helping someone with untreated schizophrenia stabilize and access benefits, or reuniting a veteran with their family and securing long-term housing. These stories aren't just pilots, and they are not made up. They're proof that our programs work when people can access them, and that care, dignity, and coordination can change lives. 3 stories shared by our providers that involve West Hollywood community members are on the screen now and in the briefing packet that was provided. They include a story about moving from instability to housing for a community member who connected with Essentia and Step Up. After receiving support in financial literacy and case management, he secured a housing voucher, and he now lives in permanent housing with continued support. There was also a reunification through care example, where Healthcare in Action helped a young man living with schizophrenia transition from crisis to stability. After receiving psychiatric care and reconnecting with his family, he returned home, where he was from in the Midwest, and was reunited with loved ones just in time for the holidays. They are providing supportive services for him now. And then after surviving discrimination and homelessness, a transgender woman was referred to the Trans Latina Coalition. She was able to access housing, enroll in a vocational training program, and begin building a future rooted in safety and dignity. In terms of our community safety response, we also wanted to briefly outline the services offered by our community safety partners. These are programs that operate in coordination and partnership with the homeless response, but it is something that we are proposing later on in this presentation to create a more formalized structure. So first we have sheriff's deputies from the West Hollywood Sheriff's Station and under contract through the LA County Sheriff's Department, providing rapid emergency services, conducting wellness checks, and maintaining public safety. We also have unarmed security services through right now our Block by Block, our contracted partner. These are unarmed ambassadors. They are out on our streets 24/7 in different areas. We have kiosks stationed in public parks and near restrooms, and they are a really important element of our public safety and homelessness response. The fire department responds to medical emergencies. They provide life-saving treatment, and they facilitate connections to services. We also have cross-departmental engagement, and we are working on integrating all of these into a broader city strategy and coordinated response system. To better understand where our current approach is working and where it falls short, we also conducted interviews with over 30 stakeholders in our service portfolio. These included frontline outreach workers, housing providers, law enforcement and public safety staff, behavioral health professionals, and community leaders. Across these interviews, some clear themes emerged. Communication between teams is fragmented. There's no consistent method for sharing updates or coordinating outreach efforts. Providers and first responders often feel unclear about who is responsible for next steps, especially in complex cases. When individuals decline services repeatedly, there are few coordinated tools for follow-up and fewer avenues for accountability. There are systemic issues. These are systemic issues that are not the fault of any one program or department, but they limit the impact of the work that is already happening, and they may be leading to frustration for everyone involved, from clients to staff and to our broader community. In preparation for tonight's study session, and at the direction of our City Council Subcommittee on Homelessness, we developed 5 case scenarios which exemplify real-world examples that represent some of the most persistent and complex challenges we see in the field. These include individuals living with untreated mental illness, those residing in vehicles, people occupying public spaces with their belongings, situations where multiple teams engage the same individual without coordination, and the example of illegal substance use in a public place. The development of these scenarios was informed not only by provider experiences and data, but also by direct input from the subcommittee, which helped identify the types of cases that might best reflect community concerns and system limitations. While each scenario is unique, they represent several common patterns. Outreach and public safety efforts often operate in parallel rather than in partnership, with limited coordination or shared planning. Hospital discharges, psychiatric holds, and repeat service calls rarely trigger a sustained multi-agency response, even though single agency responses are often sustained quite significantly for a long amount of time. There is not a formal system for escalating complex cases or assigning accountability across departments and providers. That work is happening informally. And for individuals who decline services repeatedly, there are few tools or clear protocols for appropriate follow-up and accountability. These challenges are not the result of a lack of effort. Outreach workers, clinicians, deputies, and safety ambassadors are all doing important work. But without structured coordination, these efforts do not always translate to stabilization for the individual or relief for our broader community. This is the gap that the proposed coordinated response framework is designed to fill. To address these gaps, staff are recommending what we're calling the coordinated response framework, which is presented today and builds on the city's long-standing care-first approach. It is not a new philosophy, but an evolution of our existing approach, which is designed to address increasingly complex needs by improving coordination among city staff, service providers, public safety, and county departments. The city employs what we generally refer to as a care-first model, where human services teams lead many outreach efforts to unhoused community members through a combination of proactive street outreach and targeted response to calls into a variety of service avenues. They may come directly to City Hall, to the Homeless Concern Line, to council members that are then referred to us, and or other ways. Our public safety partners, including the sheriffs, our unarmed security ambassadors, and the fire department, also respond to calls for service that vary in nature and severity. They conduct proactive outreach, and they offer to link unhoused and unsheltered individuals to supportive services. However, if individuals decline to be connected, then our public safety approach is to allow them to continue in place and to either call for a referral or to come back at another time. The approach is compassionate and flexible. It is tailored to the location, behavior, and nature of the concern. That is our current approach. The proposal to move towards this coordinated response framework doesn't replace the system, it strengthens it. It offers to create a multidisciplinary team that regularly coordinates care plans and response strategies, especially across and targeted to the most high needs and high intensity users in our system. It would designate a lead provider to manage a list of the high frequency cases by name in order to track safety concerns and coordinate the care that they are receiving. It would establish shared protocols for triage and intervention with and among city and county partners, including setting groundworks for accessing legal tools. And it would allow us to consider future policy options to explore at the direction of the council at any time. The goal is to deliver more consistent, timely, and effective support, both for individuals experiencing homelessness and for the broader community. The multidisciplinary team would include city staff, from Human Services, Community Safety, and Public Works departments, field providers, including clinicians, outreach teams, and medical staff, public safety partners, including sheriffs, unarmed security, and the fire department, and county agencies like the Department of Mental Health when appropriate. The MDT would, that's what we're calling it, would meet on a weekly basis or bi-weekly basis to share information, align on strategies, and review and respond collectively to complex cases. This framework is designed to deliver faster stabilization for unhoused community members by ensuring timely coordinated interventions that connect people to care and housing more efficiently, by improving coordination across departments and providers, through shared protocols, regular communication, and clearly defined roles. It would allow for measurable progress by tracking outcomes through shared metrics and structured case review, allowing us to evaluate the impact and adjust as needed and as situations change and evolve moving forward. And we hope that it would improve public awareness and lead to more transparent communication and access of services by creating a more visible and accountable system where roles are clear and follow-through is consistent. So that, in summary and in brief, is what we have put forward for you tonight. We're asking for your guidance on how the city can continue to strengthen its homelessness response. We are seeking your feedback on the proposed coordinated response framework, specifically on key components, including establishing a multidisciplinary team, developing shared triage protocols that clarify roles and responsibilities, and designating a lead provider to track high-frequency cases and coordinate care. We are also requesting your input on priority areas for improvement and investment so we can focus our efforts where they will have the greatest impact. And finally, we are requesting your perspective on whether this framework should serve as the foundation for a broader update to the city's homelessness strategy, one that better reflects current conditions, community expectations, and new state and regional tools. In front of you on the slide tonight are the recommendations from the staff report in the order that they are presented in the staff report. These are for your consideration and discussion tonight. Thank you very much. And with that, if we are ready to ask our community partners to come up and say a few words before we move into questions, if that's...
Yeah, I think that's great.
Okay, thank you.
So we'll first take Acting Captain Fanny Lapkin, followed by Erica Leone, our block-by-block general manager, and then Battalion Chief Joe Spindler, you're on deck.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, staff, and members of the public. My name is Fanny Lapkin, acting captain for the West Hollywood Sheriff Station. In regards to the study session, as Christine said, you know, we're working on a different approach to try and collaborate together. You know, we've been working in silos, so I think working together is going to be a way to approach this new way of dealing with the homelessness. One of the things that I see from our deputies is what we call boots on the ground. You know, that's the only way that we see that the approach is going to work. And with this new method, I think that's going to be the best approach, is because everybody needs to be out there to contact the individuals, and not being in silos, being in communication is going to change, you know, how we deal with the homelessness. But I can take questions, or I can have somebody else come up.
I think we'll have you available for questions when we're ready for questions, but we'll get through all the presentations and then we'll do it that way.
Perfect.
Thank you. Erica Leone from Block by Block, and then Battalion Chief Joe Spindler.
Good evening, members of the council. First, I'd like to thank the committee for allowing our input, as well as with collaborating with other community safety partners as far as, you know, where our teams come into play with this initiatives and the work that we've done over the years to take a bigger part in that. With our teams, it becomes increasingly complicated, you know, as we try to enforce, you know, the parameters of our contracts, right, with public safety and insurance compliance. But along those lines, we also tend to wear the hats of compassion and leading our approach with that. Over the last few years, I think our teams have done a really great job of creating those relationships, as Fanny said, with those boots on the ground, inadvertently, making contact with individuals on a daily basis, knowing their stories, knowing their backgrounds, knowing them by name, and becoming emotionally affected when, something bad happens to them, they overdose, or, we find that they have passed because of their struggles with substance abuse and mental health issues that, unfortunately, were left unchecked. And so for us, it becomes, increasingly difficult to, like I said, manage the expectations of different entities in the city, our community members, different perceptions, and how we continue to further the work of this initiative and what part we play in all of that. And so we were really fortunate to be part of that, and so I just wanted to say thank you for that, and be more than happy to provide any additional insight into the specifics of what we do in regards to that. So.
Thank you. Battalion Chief Joe Spindler, followed by Selena Alvarez with Housing Works.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having me. Joe Spindler, Battalion Chief here in the city of West Hollywood. We mainly deal with the homeless and the capacity of emergency services. And if they're stable and they're not requiring anything from the emergency department, then we'll refer them with the care teams or the sheriff's MET teams. And we also have alternative destinations. We can refer them to psychiatric urgent care centers if they meet all the requirements and are stable. I'm happy to answer any questions or if you have anything for me.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. I think it was Selena Alvarez from Housing Works and then Giovanni Godoy from the care team.
Good evening. Thank you for this work. The thing that comes to mind for me is that I am currently sitting on an ad hoc committee that is part of, it's the best practice standardization of care put forth by Council Member Nithya Raman. I am the vice chair of the committee, and the idea is to standardize processes so that what happens on the ground is able to provide what's happening, what needs to happen for the systems level to really understand what's going on. So I think that it's important for us to continue to stay the course, because the streamlining, coordinating, collaborating, and communicating of all partners requires an all hands on deck. And so anything, any way that Housing Works can be helpful in this process along the way, we are here to serve and continue staying the course, one person, one life, one relationship at a time.
Thank you. Giovanni Godoy from the care team, and then Marcel Mitchell with Essentia after that.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Giovanni Godoy, Program Director for the West Hollywood Care Team. As some of you may know, we service both house and on-house individuals alike within the city of West Hollywood. One approach that the West Hollywood Care Team tries to take in regards to homelessness is to build that rapport with the community members, assess for needs, and based on those needs, link them to services that can continue providing that.
Can you lift your mic a little bit? Thank you.
All right, sorry. So one of the services that the West Hollywood Care Team provides for homelessness is we try to build rapport with the community members, assess for needs, and based on the needs, then link them to services that can continue providing that support. We collaborate with agencies like Healthcare in Action, Step Up on Second, the Sheriff's Department, LA County Fire Stations 7 and 8, along with block-by-block security ambassadors, and also receive referrals from City Hall. When we engage a community member that is open to services, an example of shelter, then what we try to do is we try to find an open bed and provide that direct transportation to that location to ensure proper linkage. If a community member, for example, is experiencing a mental health crisis, We then assess if it's safe for us to transport ourselves to a psychiatric facility for further assessment, and if not, we then contact the Department of Mental Health for further assessment. If needed, on an emergency situation, contact the Med team with the Sheriff's Department. And I'll be happy to answer any questions right now or after.
Thank you so much. We'll go to Chris Namath with the LGBT Center, and then Amber Gomez with Healthcare in Action.
Hi, thank you, everyone. My name is Chris Namath, and I'm here today as a previous West Hollywood social services consumer, a current West Hollywood funded social service provider, and on behalf of the Los
Can you
Angeles...
speak a little bit? Sorry.
Pull the mic towards you. Sorry.
Pull it towards me. There we
Yeah,
go.
there you go.
That's better? Okay, I'll start over.
Thank you.
All right. My name is Chris Namath, and I'm here today as a previous West Hollywood social services consumer, a current West Hollywood funded social service provider, and on behalf of the Los Angeles LGBT Center's Youth Services Programs. Our services are dedicated youth-specific programs designed to meet the unique needs of young people experiencing homelessness. We provide an array of supports, starting with basic services, food, showers, safety, clothing, case management, housing navigation, housing, including shelter, transitional, rental subsidies, and permanent housing, and all of the supportive services youth need to grow, thrive, and build independent futures, including employment, support, vocational training, leadership development, a continuum of educational supports, mental health services, and tons of engagement and community building. We find joy and we have fun together. I get to see every day the success of young people when we believe and invest in them. These individualized services for young people support a future where they can truly succeed, where they're not limited by their lack of opportunity or their current circumstances, and aren't stuck in a system not designed for them, and where youth homelessness is rare, brief, and non-recurring. Collaboration and a systemic approach is important, but not as important as the unique needs of the individuals we are intending to serve. I remember when youth services meant putting young people in the beds closest to the staff window in the West Hollywood Community Homeless Organization. I'm grateful for how far we've come, and I'm available to support in whatever way is most helpful. I've been involved in the development and implementation of systems and have seen what can go right and what can go very wrong. Thank you.
Thank you. Amber Gomez with Healthcare in Action, followed by Bambi Salcedo, Trans Latina Coalition. Yeah, I think that's right.
Good evening, council members. Thank you for allowing us to participate today. My name is Amber Gomez. I am a manager for Healthcare in Action, and we are in full support of the multidisciplinary approach. We currently provide non-clinical and clinical support to clients, which means case management support, and also we have our street medicine team that comes out to the clients and provides that support in real time. We are already supporting clients under a whole person care approach, but we do see a gap when it comes to the collaboration with other providers. Although we're working closely with the care team and other providers, there is a gap. And when you're working with clients who are high acuity, it is extremely crucial that we're working together. We're sharing the care plan. We're delegating so we can work more effectively and support our clients who are high acuity. They're coming in with a lot of mental health, substance use, and mistrust with systems. And being able to collaborate and work closely together will allow us to provide better treatment. Thank you.
Thank you. Trans Latina Coalition, Maria Roman, thank you.
Hi, Mayor, Council members. Bambi couldn't be here today, so I'm today here in her place. My name is Maria Roman. I am fortunate to be the Vice President and Chief Operations for the Trans Latina Coalition. I also was a homeless youth here within the city of West Hollywood, and as a survival method, I did sex work. I had the sheriff chasing me back and forth between what was then the Yukon Mining Company and going across La Brea. So I understand firsthand what it's like to be homeless within the city. I'm also an example of what it's like to be given an opportunity and how you can take that opportunity and really grow with it. Our program has really, the investment that the city has made in the last 6 years in the Trans Latino Coalition and in the committee has made incredible impact in being able to access comprehensive services to trans people in a module, in a way that is peer-led, right? There's nothing like having a trans person that has been in your shoes come to you and be like, things could be different. We have the Hope House that continues to serve as an immediate place where if anybody, we find anybody homeless that day, we are able to house them and provide wraparound services. We're able to provide people some of the things that other agencies don't: shoes, phones, food that day, internships. We're providing scholarships to them. We're leveraging all the other services that are not really available for trans people that have been developed by us because we understand the specific needs of this community. I do agree that we need to work more collaboratively, and I hope that the mechanisms are developed to really ensure that we're able to really support the folks that are dealing with homelessness, and that we have a data tracking system that supports all of us work better for the community that we serve. I hope that the investment in the specific needs of trans people continues forward. We have unique needs, and I think that we're gonna see a continuous growth of people that are coming from across the United States because we are being persecuted by this government. And I think West Hollywood, for many of us, has been a safe haven, and I hope it continues to be, and that they know that here they will meet people that are caring, loving, and that can really see them as a whole human being. Trans people continue to get lost in services and agencies. We are the difference. So I hope that you continue to support the work that we do and the people that we serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. I have Clifford Roberts, Program Manager. No? Okay. And then Marcel Mitchell's not here, correct? Okay. So then we'll go to Jonah Glickman with Supervisor Horvath's office. Thank you. Yeah, there you go.
Hi. Good evening, Mayor and Council members. Jonah Glickman. I serve as the Housing and Homelessness Liaison for Supervisor Lindsay Horvath with LA County. So I want to thank the Council for dedicating significant staff time, resources, and investment to address homelessness in your jurisdiction. I think it's really laudable that you're doing this. There's a lot of cities in LA County that don't invest in solutions to homelessness, so it is deeply appreciated. The supervisor at the county level is actually taking a lot of steps that I see mirrored in this report here. So the work at the county is related to homelessness is done by over 14 different departments, siloed and scattered across the county. So the supervisor is initiating the process to create a lead agency at the county to address homelessness by creating a new department that will bring in all of the work that we're doing into one place where it's currently scattered all over the county. I think it's really important that we break down the silos, especially as it relates to mental health and substance use disorder treatment. For far too long, that has been treated as a separate category, and we're finally seeing through Prop 1, there's gonna be significant investment in treatment beds that will be new resources coming to the county over the next couple of years. Another example of this coordination that we're building out is our Emergency Centralized Response Center, which was created by a motion Supervisor Horvath authored last September. The ECRC is a physical space at the Hall of Records where we have county staff from departments ranging from mental health to DPH to health services and DPSS and LASA and even the city of Los Angeles, where we're literally working directly with outreach teams and government partners to identify same-day shelter placements, connection to county resources, and bring the county directly to you all. So I do hope in the months to come to build that relationship with West Hollywood and with your service providers so that we're able to really bring the county services all in one hub rather than having to go to 14 different departments. So thank you all again for having me here to answer any questions on the county as well.
Thank you very much. I believe that concludes the comments from our partners, and I really appreciate you all being here tonight to engage in this conversation. As we see, there are so many different people at the table when it comes to addressing our homelessness issue, and I really appreciate you all being here to have this conversation with us. I imagine my colleagues would like to start engaging in the discussion.
Well, Mayor, it looks like we have maybe 4 or 5 more public speakers. Do we want to take them first before we get into our discussion?
If that sounds good to everyone, we can do that, and then we'll come back. Great. So I have Isaiah Cloquet, followed by Iris Nemetz. Apologies if I'm not saying these names correctly. And then Karen Ayers after that.
I think Iris spoke for the center.
Hello, it's actually Isaiah Shoke. My chicken scratch must have gotten misinterpreted. I apologize. My pronouns are they, them, and my title is I am the Community Empowerment and Engagement Director for the California Homeless Youth Project. But I was a young person who received homeless services from the LA LGBT Center. The only way I was able to attain the title that I do now have was through the LA LGBT Center's supportive services and wraparound care they offered me as a young person experiencing homelessness. It wasn't just offering me housing, it was connecting me to my community. It was giving me the ability to find my identity as a non-binary individual. I love what was shared so many times over from Trans Latina Coalition about this being a city where people find their identity and get that permission to be themselves. But a lot of times the support and services to keep us sustained and enjoying our identity isn't always accessible, and especially as young people. As a population that makes up 23.75% of the homeless population in this city, I feel it's imperative for everybody to take what measures they can to support. No young person should have to enter any kind of homelessness or experience that. We should just have a society that guarantees all young people housing and access to their future, unabide by that. Especially when you look at the LGBT population in homelessness, we make up 42% of that population here in Spot 4 alone, mimicking the population of the West Hollywood. So I think it's pivotal and really admirable that you guys invest and take pride in supporting that. I will say, as someone who's done a lot of work from local all the way up to the White House, not this administration, and supporting solutions around youth homelessness, it really does make me happy to see you guys taking such a compassionate and careful approach to it, and really being mindful of the people served versus the outcomes and how that benefits others. I think that that's what's missing in a lot of spaces, and that is what is achieved at the LGBT Center. Every need is met and everything is honored for a young person that needs to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Karen Ayers is next on my list, followed by Sam Borelli, and then Nick Renteria.
Good evening again, Karen Ayers, City of West Hollywood. I read very closely this report. It's really good. I really liked what I saw. Highlights for me were pointing out that people largely drawn to West Hollywood for its services are LGBT people. We are a safe haven. We are a sanctuary. I was surprised to see that by sheer numbers, block by block is kind of the go-to for our community to report issues regarding unhoused people. I thought the case scenarios were fantastic and very indicative of what I've heard. I think I've met a few of those people. Also, I think it really effectively highlighted how services currently overlap and where there are disconnects. And by disconnects, I mean, missed opportunities to collaborate for faster, more effective results. I'd like the mention of this case scenario that ended in a care court possibility. That's the first time I've seen that in any kind of report that we use. I thought the recommendations are really solid and will yield really improved results. The only thing that gave me pause was recommendation E, where it says streamlining outreach services. And it made me think of the trans community. And I'm not here to speak on behalf of the trans community. We have trans people who very well can do that. But I want to amplify what Maria said. No one can serve the trans community who are unhoused better than people who have walked in those shoes. And I do not want to see things streamlined to the point where we're not reaching the very people that we must reach. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Sam Borelli.
Good evening, Sam Borelli, West Hollywood, Holloway Drive. My ADHD is off the charts right now, so I'm going to bounce around all over the place. Apologies. First, let me say, the City of West Hollywood started contracted contracting for services in July 1985. It's 40 years ago we've been doing this. In our Human Services 6-month report, October of last year through March of this year, 22 individuals were able to get supportive or transitional housing. That's a lot. I work in affordable housing during the day. To find 22 units is unheard of. This is great. We're making progress. And 26 adults and 20 LGBT youth were provided shelters over that time. Housing retention, rental assistance, anti-eviction, keeping people housed is something that the West Hollywood is doing really well. But obviously, there are some challenges and some needs for improvement. And I want to thank you all and our subcommittee, homelessness subcommittee of council members, past and current, who are working on this. There are some things that need to change. There are some things that need to be tightened up. I have to say it was disheartening to hear, as a nearly 10-year Human Service Commissioner, that there isn't as much coordination through this process. And I hope that this this impact becomes real with creating this team, this coordinated response framework. Alexandra and Maria, thank you for sharing your stories. It's so important to remember the people who it does work for, but it doesn't work for everybody. And we have to remember that there are a lot of people out there, and my scoot every day, just under a mile, 12 to 14 people every morning waking up between 7:15 and 7:30. Those folks need more help, and we've got to figure out a way to get them more help. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Nick Renteria.
Hi, good evening, council members. First, I just want to say I'm really excited to see the Holloway House program open and to have interim housing here in the city limits of West Hollywood. And thank you to all of our service partners for all the services you provide. I read through the council briefing from the study session, and I also wanted to thank Mayor Byers for mentioning how important community engagement is in this process. And I wanted to share my own experience to kind of illuminate what citizens of West Hollywood kind of see on a day-to-day basis. Our service providers listed that the main issues they face is that or some of the issues that they face are that the public has unrealistic expectations, that education is needed for the public, and that stigma remains high. And I'm ashamed to admit that I even hold that stigma within myself, and I think we all kind of do. When we see someone who is unhoused, we've been conditioned to immediately tense up and think, this person might hurt me. When I told people back home that I was moving to Los Angeles, they practically clutched their pearls and were like, you're so dangerous there, you're gonna be so unsafe. When I tell people that I take the bus places, they do the same thing. They're like, aren't you scared? And so, to help myself process through this stigma, I volunteered with Hollywood Food Coalition, and it really helped me connect with the unhoused community here and kind of process through the stigma that I was holding in myself. But I also wanted to note that that is one of the very, very few opportunities that is even near West Hollywood for people to formally volunteer and engage with the homeless community. And I think that's a huge gap for education and a huge gap for connection. I know we have a volunteer portal, and I think that if we could create formal volunteer opportunities in the city, possibly partnering with our city service providers, that would give the community an opportunity to engage with the houseless community in a way that is productive and can help us process through that stigma and be more engaged in this process in a productive way.
Thank you. I have Chris Nemitz also signed up to speak. Come on up. Oh, you're good? Okay, you're great. Very great. Okay, then that concludes our public comment, correct? Great. Okay. Well, it's up back to us to begin deliberation discussion. I want to first just thank our staff for such a meaningful and robust report, a 36+ page briefing packet, and it seems that community members truly enjoyed it too, which means to me that this topic is timely and pressing and has been on folks' minds. And I really appreciate the speaker from the county reflecting that we're in a bigger moment of change happening across the region when it comes to this subject, and just also want to reflect how grateful I am for our city's long-term commitment and engagement to the point where we're thinking about a next chapter of our own 5-year strategy on this. So it's a really exciting moment to be in. I'm really grateful for the work. I want to bring it back to my colleagues for some discussion, questions. Anybody would like to jump in? Councilmember Erickson.
Questions, comments, or just questions?
Questions, comments?
Great. I'll be brief. I don't know if now I say that, I'll probably go long. First, I just want to thank all of our organizations that came out tonight to talk about this really critical issue. I think we're always talking about homelessness, housing, and public safety at any given moment of the day. Those are pretty much the three items that I talk most about with residents and businesses. So I really appreciate seeing you all and hearing and reading the report about the comprehensive work that you're all doing. A couple of questions, and maybe I can address it in terms of first starting with visibility. So I read in the report or the attachment A that a lot of people always don't see stuff going on. And so all they see is individuals experiencing homelessness and not like a care provider or something else going up and talking to them. And if they do see something, perhaps it's maybe a deputy or it's one of our paramedics or firefighters because maybe something happened during a heat wave or something like that, and that's when they see it. So it automatically triggers almost an emergency response like, oh no, like what happened here? Or anyways, is there a plan, or I don't even know if I want people to be more visible in a way like that, because I don't know if that naturally solves it, but if you see it, you can achieve it, and people don't believe what they don't see anymore, and then they maybe don't even believe it then. But my questions are, is there, like our block by block groups that go out and walk and people feel trusted by them and comfortable with them, is there room for our WeHo Cares team or other social service providers to go out? I know they go out very, very early in the morning and do rounds and checks on people, but is there a different comprehensive package that you're proposing outside of this for more visibility? That's kind of my first long-winded question.
Trying to get this to work. Okay. Well, the very short answer is that our care team and Healthcare in Action did transition fairly recently to wearing uniforms. So they are now in outfits that identify them and identify them as service providers. So they should be becoming more visible while they're doing street outreach to our community members.
Wonderful, thank you so much. I think that would help in a little bit. I think a lot of people do want to see it. I mean, people are very comfortable with our block by block ambassadors, so I think that, and I believe, where's block by block? I just lost you. There you are, sorry. But I understand that a lot of times block by block ambassadors have more touches with individuals experiencing homelessness than any other aspect that they're doing, and we've gotten those numbers in the past, so I think it would work in that way. My next piece is what are, I know, so there's SB 43, but it's not happening till next year in LA County. But what are we really allowed to do? I mean, a lot of the times people would sit there and say really blatantly, oh, just, get rid of them because they don't want to see this eyesore of homelessness, which is not how we have a care first approach here in the city, right? And we all know that doesn't work. If you have someone experiencing behavioral or mental health issues, locking them up for 72 hours only brings them back, and they are gonna maybe be even worse for the wear, right? So I was reading on some of the recommendations, and a more maybe severe approach, probably not the right word. Are we even allowed to do that? I mean, my understanding is yes and no, it's kind of a gray area, but I also then understand the liability side because I serve on a number of boards, and I know that when Councilmember Shine and I created the WeHo Cares team with the full support of that council, by the way, and then got the money from Congressman Schiff and the ways in which we allocated it, it started as a result of 2021, then Captain, who was before? Ramirez, thank you. I mean, I sent him an email saying, well, do the sheriffs even want to deal with homelessness? And his response was, no. And I said, okay. And it wasn't like, no, like we don't want to deal with it. We'll always do what we need to do to help in an emergency scenario. But we saw that as a gap of how many hours then are you actually spending on it? And we see that in the report here, right? Which is the impetus for the CARES team and those dollars, right? But our sheriff's department and other individuals are really limited in their liability because individuals will use this as an advantage point to perhaps sue them if something goes wrong, right? We know they're following the law and doing all that, but what really are people allowed to do?
That's a great question, and it is a very complex answer. I'm going to ask Francisco Gomez to come up and speak very briefly to it, and also Fanny Lapkin as well. So if you guys could head to the podium.
And this will be helpful for the public because we can say it as much as we can and everything else, but I just think that people need to really know what we're actually allowed to do as a city.
Good evening, council members. Francisco Gomez. So quick answer is that the county is still implementing this SB 43, so we really don't know what the framework will be. But from what we understand is that what this SB 43 does is it expands the eligibility for a 5150 hold. So the process would be very similar to what it is now for 5150. It just makes it, once implemented, it would just be the eligibility for 5150 would be expanded. And I'll have Fanny Lapkin speak a little more on this.
So I'll give you a scenario. We get a call for service for somebody that does not meet the criteria for a 5150 hold or does not meet a criteria for placing them under arrest because they committed a crime. For somebody just blocking a sidewalk, somebody who's trespassing, somebody who is, we don't see it, remember, misdemeanor that doesn't commit in our presence, we cannot enforce that law. That we need victims, so somebody who's, if somebody sees them, for example, urinating on the sidewalk, we're gonna need that person to press charges. So if somebody doesn't wanna be a victim, then we can't take them, we cannot arrest them. So if for trespassing, if we ask them to leave and they leave, and then they're gone for a little bit and then they come back, we have to ask them again to leave. It's only when they refuse to leave that we can arrest them. So it is a challenge for us to arrest. We can't, even when we do arrest, they're cited out within a few hours. Some of them are infractions that are cited out right then and there. We don't actually take them into the station for an actual processing and for booking. So it is a little bit of a challenge. Just don't misunderstand that when there is a crime, we'll take them into jail depending on their criminal history. The only way we know their criminal history is if we go take them and we live scan them. Or like Erica said, we know who they are and we know where they come from. We know how many times we've arrested them. But there's some that are multiple. We've had multiple arrests within a month's period, but they are released back into the street. So we are very limited to what we can do on the law enforcement side, but we do the care approach first. We do ask them to leave. We ask them to move along. And the same thing, like with the teams, our cops team, our EPT team, and even patrol, we have pamphlets that we give them. So once we've arrived at a call for service and there's nothing that we're going to take them in for, we give them a pamphlet. We provide services, and if there's a need for care teams, that's usually who we call. We call Gio and his team, and then they come out and respond. Our Met team is also, and they're connected with both the care teams and Healthcare in Action. So it's very limited depending on that. We could go on to different scenarios, but depending on the individual and their criminal history, we are very limited.
And two follow-up questions. Individuals aren't allowed to erect tents or anything like that in West Hollywood per a law that we've had on the books for a while, if I believe, right, Vice Mayor?
Correct. And anytime we do have a call to service or somebody tells us, we go address that.
Great. So in the report, the numbers for the calls for the Met team versus the WeHo Cares team were quite drastic. The WeHo Cares team seemed to have more than the Met team. Do you know or have any inclination, or maybe staff can, and I see Christine shaking her head, so I think
I don't know the numbers for the care team, so I can't compare.
Nope. So you're off the hot seat. Thank you, Fanny. Never that was a hot seat because we love you, but anyway, so.
Sure. Those are actually very different services and service models. And so the Met team offers a sheriff's deputy who is trained in working with this population, as well as a licensed clinician. And the care team has a kind of hotline intake. It has outreach workers and it has clinicians on staff. And so We have been marketing very heavily the care team and the city's homeless response line, which funnels calls to the care team. The mental evaluation team, the MET team for the sheriff, is a special referral from the sheriff's department.
Thank you for that. And then my last question, and I'll just turn it back over, is how much, big number, does the city of West Hollywood every year spend on homelessness services or outreach and care services? And because you used to do the budget, maybe you could help. And I did not ask you these things because I was on a plane this morning, so I would have. However, I did not. So I apologize.
It's okay. We looked up some numbers for you prior. Right now, the city is spending approximately $4 million a year for contracted services related to social services and the care team.
But we could also add that our contract with the sheriff's department in ways includes.
Right. If we broke out, so the MET team, for example, I think is in the neighborhood of $500,000 for that team. And then we're adding the Holloway Interim Housing Program, and that will pretty rapidly increase our spending budget over the next several years as we ramp up into service.
Like 7-8 million?
Cumulatively, pretty quickly, yeah. It's not that much per year.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Well, we would also need to add block by block because a significant portion of their time is spent dealing with homeless individuals.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Thank you. I saw Councilmember Hang jumped into the speaker queue.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say thank you for this very robust report. It took a lot of hours, a lot of meetings with different departments, different stakeholders in the community, so thank you. So our current approach is compassion without coordinating. So our current approach is having a lot of compassion, but it's lacking coordinating, and it's not working. We have multiple teams that are out there, same clients, no results, and the current system isn't working. And I think that's what was discussed, and that's why we're here today. So I took a little different approach. I looked at the 5 different scenarios, and I developed different questions in terms of each scenario, because those 5 scenarios are specific things that happen here in the city of West Hollywood. But I guess my first question is, can staff clarify how the proposed multidisciplinary team approach would improve outcomes for chronic service refusers? Because I think that's a problem that we have here in West Hollywood. There's a lot of people that are referred for services, but maybe they don't receive them, or they don't have the wherewithal to receive those services. So how do we coordinate that and to get results from that?
Thank you for that question. It's a good one. And what I would say is first of all, what the city does and what we attempt to do does work. It takes time, and not everyone is successful at making it through or into treatment. But we do have successes, and we do have very measurable and important successes. Second of all, I think we have heard very clearly that coordination is a key issue. And so this effort is to really improve the coordination and collaboration amongst the teams and with our various partners so that we have a better response. What the multidisciplinary team does is it brings together our key providers into a space on a weekly basis to review cases. And so we will have a list of named individuals who are chronic refusers, and we'll develop, that team will develop a case plan by which to approach them, to log instances of contacts, to log whether or not folks are following up on the treatment options that they are being offered. And so that if over time we see that we are not having the successes that we expect, we can also explore other options, which may include a more public safety oriented response than we have utilized in the past. But the goal of that program is to really coordinate and make sure among our providers, we are giving everything that we have available to them in a way that doesn't trigger a service refusal response.
And it may not even be a flat-out refusal. It could be that the person is just unwell and doesn't have the wherewithal to seek the treatment. And I think that's kind of what we're experiencing here in the city. And I know that there's a lot of residents and business owners out there who feel, for lack of a better word, uncomfortable, right? And I appreciate hearing that Healthcare in Action is uniformed. I remember asking on our call about having uniform providers, because that shows the community that the city is taking a proactive approach and a proactive stance. So right now, because it gives them a visible presence on the street to assist with unhoused folks who need help, because they do. The current approach now, from what I understand, it's more of a reactive approach. So will there be more of a proactive approach moving forward, so that residents, community members can, or even our unhoused folks can see having a visible presence on the street proactive, rather than having somebody just call HIA to have somebody sent out to speak to an unhoused person?
Thank you for that question. We do a combination of both reactive and proactive outreach now. Healthcare in Action does do regular outreach to hotspots that we know of in the city where we have unhoused community members that they tend to congregate, as well as responding to calls from the Homeless Concern Line, from staff, from law enforcement. So it is a combination, but we do hear that feedback that it is perceived as a very reactive response system, and so that is definitely an area where we believe we can improve.
And I really did appreciate hearing the success stories, or reading the success stories in the staff report. So clearly something is working, and I think this coordinated effort, what I call the one-stop shop, what I mentioned in our meeting, it's kind of what it is. It's a one-stop shop, right? You're all meeting together, creating hopefully what will be a centralized hub to balance the information out and to disseminate the individual to get the services they need from the various partners and stakeholders. I think that's what we were lacking here in West Hollywood, and I'm glad that the division is working on that. That way we can get, with this multidisciplinary team approach, to get more help out to the people that need it the most. That's what I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Meister?
Thank you, Mayor. So I guess I'm wondering, like with all those different scenarios, what would help me is to understand the timeline. So what kind of timeline are we talking about when we look at some of these different scenarios? And I see that we, approach people multiple times. I mean, this is something we're doing now. So timeline for these scenarios?
The timeline is something that we would need to develop in the next step. Once we had the green light from the council to move forward with an approach like this, we would pull our partners and agencies together and talk about kind of the protocol and the response, and what seems like a realistic amount of time, and how individuals were responding to those offers for service and moving through kind of a service pipeline. But we also did do outreach and spoke to both the city of Beverly Hills, which has similar to this a multidisciplinary team, and to the city of Santa Monica, which offers a coordinated response as well. So, Danny, you want to talk a little bit about what they talked about in terms of responding?
Well, in terms of Beverly Hills, who we met with, and they have a specific unit from their Beverly Hills Police Department and their MET unit that coordinates with human services, right, staff and the providers. And so, of course, if there is a call that's made to the sheriff's station, they would still respond, no differently, but the benefit to doing the multidisciplinary team approach would be that you're exchanging and sharing that information with the service providers on a very more frequent basis, which right now is not being done, right? So having kind of a shared database, if you will, with folks getting in the room, our Met unit, our special teams deputies as well, and exchanging that information and also learning about all of the contacts that are being made on the social services side. So, you know, we didn't really cover or go over a specific timeline on the scenarios. When we asked, like, what's the criteria, what's the threshold, they said it's really a case-by-case situation where they're really looking at the individual, the you know, services that are needed, et cetera, and then figuring out what's the best path forward in that collaborative team effort. So I didn't meet with the city of Santa Monica, but that's the response and the information that we got from Beverly Hills.
Okay, I guess I always thought we were coordinating, because when I would text basically, you know, everyone, you and Block by Block and Christoph from Human Services, and so I guess I'm a little confused as how it operated before. I understand the idea of a shared database, and I think that's great that we have that, but I guess I'm kind of confused as to what we did before.
So I'll speak to that because Councilmember Meister, you're right. Obviously, being a part of the group text chains that come in, but right now what we're doing is, yes, Block by Block's responding, and then they're asking folks, you know, if they want to accept services. If folks are willing to accept, then they'll make the contact, a handoff right to the care team or to Healthcare in Action. And that handoff will be it, right? Block by Block will end up moving on to the next call, right? So what's being proposed is that now there'll be a collaborative team where a Block by Block representative, so that contact and that handoff, there'll be that weekly meeting where everyone's gonna be discussing that contact and what happened afterwards, right? What was the follow-up that occurred? And who knows if maybe somebody contacted the next time because maybe they got frustrated with seeing the same person, and now that call went to the sheriff's station, and so now you have a deputy that's going out and responding as well. And the deputy and the security ambassador don't know that that contact was made, don't know that the care team or Healthcare in Action followed up, and they don't know where they're at in that process, right? And so that's where the benefit was very helpful to hear and emphasized by the Beverly Hills Police Department, in that they're sharing that information and that they're actually seeing too, like, oh, look at the benefits of that contact from a social services provider, getting folks along in the process, maybe getting them connected to housing, et cetera, and getting them the services that they need. And then on the flip side of that, also allowing the service providers in the human services team to see how many contacts are being made on the community safety side of things. Mm-hmm. If that person's maybe been issued a citation by deputies or a police officer, if they've had a contact with a security ambassador to kind of move their belongings or move along. So they're kind of seeing that as well, because that information is shared as a part of that database.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a sense of how things are going to be different in terms of what LA County provides, given the fact that you know, there's going to be more money, I would imagine, from the new from the measure that was passed, what that means to us?
Are you referring to Measure A, the La Casa agency, or the LASA reconfiguration at the county level specifically?
I'm talking about the money, the tax.
Measure A and the La Casa agency. We don't have a representative for La Casa here, but I happen to serve on the board as an alternate. And I'm in both the ad hoc committee for the local city coordination, which is about making sure that through the regional coordination at the council of government level, the COGS, the distribution of funds comes to cities. So there was a decision that was made about what that allocation will look like, how the disbursement of funds will happen, and what the COGS responsibility will be to distribute those back to the cities. There's also the tenant protections ad hoc committee that I serve on, which is specifically deciding now on what policies need to be in place either at the specific city level or for the agency to distribute funding to organizations to do that tenant protections work. And then the third prong of that is the building of new housing. All of this is really in policy work plan configuration configuration, and the first distribution of funds should be happening in July. So within the next year, we'll start to see applications of those funds, but it's still some time away. But eventually the idea is that the COG has more resources to contribute to our ability to build the sort of behavioral health facilities, the affordable housing, like the Holloway example that we have, the interim housing, or other such models that we get to decide at the COG level. There's a percentage of funds for that. There'll be more funding available to the agencies all across the region itself, and there'll be specific funding that cities have access to for support in building affordable housing in a variety of different ways.
So my bigger concern is the mental health side of it and the dealing with substance abuse, that side of it, because, I walk every morning and, I see homeless people who are just, there's just no way that when Block goes over to them and says, do you want help, that there's going to be a response that's going to be helpful to them. These folks should not be on the streets, period. They need to be in a treatment center, whether it's for mental health treatment or for substance misuse treatment. And so if the county is, we don't have the physical room for, in this city for that in particular. And I know that, for example, when people are taken over to, say, Cedars for help, they're gone the next day. It's very immediate, and then they're gone. So there's no long-term help that is available that we are seeing. And unless that is done, and that is part of this, I don't necessarily see. I think that the coordinated efforts will help with people who are capable of making those changes in their life to go through those steps. But I think people who do not have the capacity because of a mental illness or drug substance abuse are going to be able to do that. So that's why I talk about the timeline. It's like how many times, I remember one guy who was literally just laying on the sidewalk, block by block must have come over and said, you need to move. And the guy got up and literally was like aimlessly like walking up and down San Vicente Boulevard. So again, I'm concerned that the people who, where it's chronic, in particular because of mental health issues and substance abuse issues, that this is not going to ever be enough. And it's not that it's not a good plan, and it will work with a certain level, but it will not work for that serious those serious cases. And those serious cases are what we see a lot of on the streets. That's what our residents are seeing. I don't think it's community education is the problem, although maybe just who do we call? I mean, that's a simple thing. Put it on the the little bus shelter billboards, but it's really about those serious cases, and that's my concern. And so maybe it relates to Councilmember Erickson's question about how aggressive an approach we can take, but.
And if I may add to that point, I mentioned the West Side Council of Governments and the work that they're doing at this sub-regional level at Santa Monica, Culver City, Beverly Hills, West Hollywood, and the West Side City of Los Angeles. There have been discussions over the last several years about a regional behavioral facility for the West Side, and it is we're beyond the study. We have the study. We're looking into how to start building this, and the timing of Measure A funds through La Casa really start creating that sort of opportunity. So as a region, because you're right, West Hollywood's limited in what those opportunities may look like, but as a West Side region, there's absolutely thought across that to figure out how to create that gap resource.
Okay, thank you. I know that was a discussion back when I was on the COG. And then I guess my last question is to the care team. I'm hearing that they're proactive. I've never seen them. I just sort of want to know what that looks like when the care team is being proactive as opposed to responding to a call.
Good evening, everyone, again. So the care team, when we're not on active calls or linking a community member to a resource, we are actively outreaching the streets, some of the public parks, West Hollywood Park, Plummer Park. During the overnight hours, we also outreach the West Hollywood Sheriff Station. We have times to connect with Block by Block. They also call us for individuals that may need support or don't necessarily want support for us to attempt to outreach those individuals. Aside from the hotspots and the requests from the city, we also outreach the smaller streets of the city, and we have had success in engaging community members that may be sleeping in front of a building. Aside from that, we also keep track of the residents, the addresses that they provide, and we continue outreaching those areas.
Thank you. So do we now have, I mean, I know that I've heard that we have it, but do we actually, we have a number now that we call that's direct to the care team and not through the D.D. Hirsch operators? Or we do have that? Because I will say that
Yes, we
was
do.
something that was really difficult, I think, for anyone calling, right? Having to like go through the, it's like when you call 911.
Right, I think
like-
it answers with the suicide prevention hotline. So
Okay.
yes, we do have a direct number now.
Okay, great. I think that's what we need to let residents know about and businesses.
Is that okay? Vice Mayor Heilman, do you want to? No, sorry, wrong timing. Give you a second.
Yes, thank you. First, I want to thank Christine and the team who put together the staff report. It's it's so comprehensive, and it really responded to what we on the subcommittee spoke about. So I really appreciate all the time that you put in. I'm going to have some questions and criticisms, but it really, you all did a great job, and I appreciate that. I also want to thank all the organizations who are here tonight, and the Sheriff's Department, the Fire Department, all of the people who provide services to some of the most challenging people to serve and to some of the most difficult situations. So I really appreciate all the work, and I think we as a council heard you, and we know all of the, the dedication, the compassion, and the hard work that you put into serving the homeless community here in West Hollywood. To the extent that I raise any criticisms tonight, it is not directed at any of you or any of the organizations. I think there are problems with our policy, but it has nothing to do with the organizations who are serving us. The policy that we currently have in place, I helped craft that, and I think in many ways it expresses a lot of good things, particularly the care-first approach, the compassionate approach. But as Councilmember Hang said, I think we also have to acknowledge that it's not working. It's working in some respects. It's working for some people. It's doing some great things, but there are problems and gaps that we as a council and as staff need to address. The case scenarios that you have in the briefing, those are wonderful, and we should celebrate them. That's why we have these programs. But in terms of evaluating and fairly evaluating the programs, we should also look at the failures. And, you know, that to me is, and as a subcommittee member, I probably should have raised that, but it's something that we should identify. What isn't working? And there are failures. And I, you know, like Councilmember Meister, I walk regularly. I'm routinely calling into our homeless services line, identifying people. And I have recently started taking photos of people who are at the same bus shelter for months, if not years. I can identify the person who is in a wheelchair, who's typically at the bus shelter at Sunset in La Cienega. The person who has been at the bus shelter of Holloway and La Cienega probably for 6 to 9 months. The person who's in front of Artistry or the bank next to Artistry regularly, always there, almost on a daily basis. So even though we should celebrate the successes, and I do celebrate them, we also have to acknowledge what isn't working. And I think it goes back to what my colleague was addressing, the people who persistently refuse services. How long do we allow them to refuse services before we change the approach? And I think, you know, somebody very smart, I believe it was Einstein, said something about it's insanity to continue to do the same thing over and over and over again and expect a different result, particularly with people who have mental health challenges that are untreated or substance abuse that is untreated. I think Sam Borelli talked about being on the scooter and suggesting that there are people on the street and we need to do more. We need to do better. But what he doesn't realize is I can almost guarantee that all of those people have been approached, have been offered services probably multiple times by Healthcare in Action or by Essentia or the Trans-Latino Coalition or the Center or one of our partners. And they continuously and persistently refuse services. And that to me is something that isn't really addressed in this report satisfactorily. And I think that's something for our subcommittee to continue to work with our staff. The idea of fully coordinating our services, I completely support that. My question is, why haven't we been doing that? And that, to me, is a problem. And I will tell you my own perception, being on the subcommittee, is that there's been resistance by our staff to coordinating, particularly coordinating with law enforcement. You, in your report, Chris, you said our community safety response acts in coordination with our services and our service providers. In my experience, that's not been true. In my experience, our social services staff has actively resisted coordinating with law enforcement, and they have not been willing to support law enforcement being involved unless there's a threat to one of our service providers. So I support what you're advocating here, but I want to express that and express a bit of skepticism based on what I've seen over the last year and a half serving on the subcommittee. One aspect of your report about regional shelter and housing services, you really looked at the county and the region, and I thought that was great. I think it would be useful to also have some information about West Hollywood, because I know that we're opening Holloway, we fund a number of service providers that provide shelter beds. So I think it's important for us to look at the availability of shelter, the availability of long-term supportive services from a West Hollywood perspective and not just from a regional perspective. this is a little bit off topic, but I know everyone here probably knows what 5150 means, but for those who are at home and listening and don't understand what that means, 5150 is a process by which somebody who is an immediate danger to themselves or others can be put in a temporary hold while a psychiatric assessment is done. The standard for having somebody detained under 5150 is very high, and it is very difficult to detain somebody on that basis. And even when they are detained, it's typically for 72 hours, and if they're stabilized and no longer an immediate threat to themselves or others, they will be released. Just a couple of other points that I wanted to make. We are a compassionate city, and we do want to welcome people who are from parts of the country where they're being oppressed or other parts of the region. But I want to make it clear that, at least from my perspective, we do not want homeless people coming here. We do not want people who are homeless coming to West Hollywood and thinking that they are going to be taken care of in West Hollywood. We have a fair amount of people who are already homeless in West Hollywood to take care of. And I also want to make the point that most of the people that we see on the street, probably 90% of them, are not people who ever lived in West Hollywood and slipped into homelessness. This is where I'm frustrated with the county. Most of these people did not come from a sheltered environment in West Hollywood, lost a job, and slipped into homeless. Most of the people we're seeing on the streets that are persistently on the street are long-term, who have untreated mental health problems, untreated substance abuse problem, and this is part of where I think the county has been failing and not providing the services that are necessary to address that. So I don't know whether it was Councilmember Meister or Councilmember Hang who said something about maybe a different approach to those who are refusing services, and I fully support the compassionate approach, and I know that we have to, with some people, build trust over time. But at some point, when they are not willing to accept services, I think our response needs to escalate. I think we need to make it clear that being on the street is not the right place for them. And I fear that to some degree we have been enabling and trying to accommodate rather than doing what I hope everyone agrees on, which is get people off the street and into the services and into the care that they need. That is the truly compassionate approach. Leaving people on the street under the guise of compassion, in my mind, is not compassionate at all. It is not the appropriate setting for somebody who has profound mental illness. It is not the appropriate setting for somebody suffering from a severe substance abuse disorder. So at least going forward, I support the major recommendation, which is adopt this coordinated approach. And I will say we used to have an approach where we identified the 10 most vulnerable people. Back when Daphne Dennis was here, we did that. We identified them by name. We had a strategy individually for those individuals to try to get them into care. And so I'm glad that we're back to doing that. Having the coordinated approach and also needs to involve law enforcement where that's appropriate. And I'm trusting what you're saying, and I'll give you the opportunity to do it. But I am skeptical based on my experience for the last year. Even the use of uniforms or insignias on the uniforms of the healthcare in action providers or our outreach team, that was something that our staff persistently resisted. So I'm glad to see we're doing that. Some of the things that moving forward, in addition to the coordinated response and hopefully the subcommittee can look at this. More information on what we do with those who refuse services persistently, how we change our approach to that, better public information in terms of what we do, how we work with homeless individuals, and how members of the public can communicate concerns. This is something that hasn't been raised, but I think it's essential that we get homeless services out of the library. Homeless people, of course, can use the library and are welcome to do so, but that is not a homeless services center. It's supposed to be a library. And then I really think we need to start addressing the gaps with services, mental health treatment, and substance abuse. And those are primarily the responsibility of the county. And my final point, and I'll shut up, and I'm sorry I've talked so long. I think we need to really look at our policy and make some significant revisions. There are references in the policy about how the county is primarily responsible for addressing homelessness, and that's just not happening. And in fact, I would say to some degree, and I'm not faulting our county representatives here, part of the problem is the fact of county failure to address issues over a long period of time. So I don't think we can count on the county to provide resources or services or be primarily responsible. They're not, at least when it comes to West Hollywood. So those are all my comments, sorry.
We'll see. Thank you. I'm really just feeling really proud, frankly, to live in a city that has worked this hard to establish a safety net. And while I recognize that there are absolutely things that can continue to be improved, I can't not just sort of center that part of our commitment to this work. I heard really loudly in the slides, or saw very clearly, that there's a 9.5-month wait on any shelter bed availability, let alone affordable housing availability. I don't believe that jails are where anybody who's unhoused should go, and hospitals are also not the end option. So I just want to sort of name the triangle of options that people are sitting in, and while there was one scenario that showed that family reunification is possible, we can't sort of hope for these, rare opportunities to reconnect people. So we are in a situation where people are finding the safest, most familiar, most comfortable place to rest themselves on any given day. And that is West Hollywood, I think, is a real statement of who we are and our values, and it's something I take with a lot of pride, frankly. And that we do that for the most vulnerable community members who, in perhaps any community that they've come from, haven't felt that sort of care. Also is really moving to me. It doesn't mean that it makes our work easier. It's certainly more complicated. But I also recognize the timeline that we've been up against for the past 9 years. I think the world changed in a major way in 2016, and a lot of folks became more economically vulnerable even before that. And mental health crises, living in the state that we have under federal administration for that timeline, has been very hard for people. And so we're living in a really complex moment. And I also want to recognize that in that moment, for the first time, this county passed some historic voting measure or ballot measures to unleash funding that hadn't ever been available before. In fact, had been voted down by voters across the region in attempts prior to that. And so we're just up against different timelines that are intersecting in a place that allows me to only look forward with hope and not backwards at a deep set of frustrations. I could. That's why I ran to be in office and serve the city and move forward in a better, clearer way than the past had really allowed us. But with that, I feel really excited and hopeful for what has been presented to us. I have seen in other places across the region where service providers had decided upon themselves that it was important to come together and to do case conferencing, put together individual plans for different high-need unhoused individuals that they were all running, sort of working with, and that those opportunities weren't, part of what was mandated. It was something that was thought of, and that took extra capacity, extra care, extra resources and time from those service providers, so that we're now as a city making this a policy model. At the same timeline, the county is also recognizing that those silos haven't served us. Is really amazing. It's a triumph, I think, frankly. We've done so much to invest in organizations post-COVID, which was an extremely disruptive time for the investment that we had been putting into homeless services to be effective. And in 2022, I noticed Healthcare in Action came online for the first time in the city. It's been creating tremendous change and transformation by doing street-level triage, which wasn't provided before to those high acuity folks. The care team is now fully 24/7, and we are one of the only cities in the entire county that has a MET team available to it as well. So it's no surprise to me that after just 2 years of sort of all of these things working concurrently, and at a new point in our request for proposal cycle for our social service programs and the investment we make on a 3-year basis, that we're having this conversation now. So I don't look at this as a frustration of why haven't we done this. I look at this as a really great moment to be doing this in a new way with all the right partners at the table, looking forward in a way that really allows us to do this work with dignity to the people we're serving. I am one of those folks who thinks that the plain clothes is often the less intimidating way to approach unhoused community members. And while that model has changed, I would just ask that we're monitoring what maybe perhaps increased service refusal looks like, because folks are in uniform now approaching our unhoused community members in new ways. It could be one of the factors that contributes to that, and I think that is also something we have to be aware of. I want to just also recognize I was in conversation with folks from the various hospitals that we are serviced by, and the fact that they are so at capacity means that our first responders, who have very little options to turn to, are putting people into scenarios that aren't really getting the help they need. And so while it is deeply uncomfortable for community members in our streets to see people just sitting around, as it seems, they could be in between their own resources and service calls happening. And we make assumptions that too often go into the negative, and I would ask that we try not to. And I appreciate a public commenter tonight who, through their own experience, has recognized and acknowledged that the stigmas we hold are so deeply ingrained in us that sometimes it takes a little bit of a new experience to change our minds. And I appreciate you sharing that with us. I do think that public education is important, as it has always been, because as we can see, so many of our systems are and will continue to evolve. And that means that we all have to stay deeply engaged so that we don't hold assumptions. We know how to ask questions, and we know how to plug in and be supportive and helpful. I also acknowledge that there are system gaps that our city alone can't solve. Things like storage for community members, safe parking, showers, additional public restrooms, job placement and support, things we are doing in some ways, things that partnership and support would be incredible. And so I'm excited in the ways that through these new weekly coordinating meetings, case conferencing, we can get different level of insight about where and what might be helpful to community members in terms of helping them on their way. And we know this is long-term work, but I do think the regular weekly coordinating opportunities will help make sure that the work that is happening doesn't feel so redundant, repetitive, and I can't even imagine what it's like for our responders on the ground who, an unhoused person who gets help from one group, and then somebody else walks up 2 hours later, and then somebody else walks up 2 hours later. It's going to be really incredible to have this level of coordination happening, and to be able to get this sort of new level of insight from all the folks doing that work about how else we can be responsive. Earlier this year or last year, can't remember, we as a council supported this microgrants concept as a tool that could maybe be available to help some rapid response funding for innovation. And I would like to think that that could be something that could be useful as we're in a new space of coordination and innovation, in looking and recognizing that a service provider will be a lead agency, that other folks are going to be stepping in maybe different ways. If there can be resources available that are within city manager level authorization to make quickly available to those groups, I think that's something I would like to see, and that was the spirit of that micro grant item, in addition to just making sure that in the context of the federal cuts that we're all experiencing, we don't lose those services and resources that help keep people connected. So all that to really say, I'm so heartened by this work. I'm so excited that we started a meeting by hearing that a certificate of occupancy is going to be delivered to the Holloway, which, as a reminder, is 20 beds that had never existed in West Hollywood before, and is just, frankly, as we know, a drop in the bucket, but a very significant one, because it demonstrates what all cities are capable of. And I think that just sort of leaves me at this place of, well, I'm deeply hopeful. I'm also deeply aware and conscious that we are one city in 88 cities in the region, and we're doing so much more than I think so many others are, and that'll leave us in a position of needing continued support. And it's not a matter of just once those people have gotten the help and they're on their way, we've solved this problem. This is an economic crisis. This is a mental health crisis that we're experiencing as a whole country. And so I just want to sort of be aware and say that I'm really happy that the system's evolving in a way that I think is going to truly help support the work that our service providers are doing in a new way, which I think is so important. It's going to absolutely make differences in the lives of the unhoused individuals who they're impacting, because they'll get the services they need in a better coordinated fashion. And I do think it'll help the public understand that we are in a constantly evolving time, but we are a city that is constantly evolving our response as well, and that is so important. So I just thank you all for being a part of this. I thank staff for bringing this item in such a comprehensive way, and thank you to the community members who read all 36 pages of the report. It's great. Councilmember Erickson, or Councilmember Hank first, then Councilmember Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor. So Councilmember Erickson brought up a story earlier about how Captain Ramirez was asked, do you want to handle the homeless problem? And he said no. Well, of course he's going to say no, because that's not his job. The job of a deputy sheriff in the department is to protect the community. Being homeless is not a crime, so of course he's going to say no. But I just wanted to share that. And I understand that a lot of work went into this. As a council member, I'm really appreciative. Being a new council member, I'm extremely appreciative. And I do understand that staff has been working within the parameters that the previous council had directed staff to do, right? So this is just not all on staff. This is what a previous council had directed staff to do. Staff was given a set of parameters, and that's what was produced. And some of what was produced, some of the policies, some of the continuing engagement, not all of it's working, and that's okay. This is an evolving issue that it's not just in West Hollywood. Homelessness is a regional issue. We're at 1.9 square miles, 36,000 residents. We have a team of 450 at City Hall that are badass people working at all walks of life in the city, right? And our social services division team, they've been amazing. Under Christine, Derek, Dee, I mean, just me touring our substance, our harm reduction facilities, as well as the log cabin, as well as the recovery center with Andy, our chief of staff, and with Derek. It was amazing in terms of what the social services department division of our city does. And they have done a lot for our community. A lot of unhoused folks have been helped. Block by Block has been instrumental. I know that Councilmember Erickson and Councilmember Shine were instrumental in bringing Block by Block to West Hollywood. I think actually Vice Mayor Heilman, right? Or WeHo cares. But who brought Block by Block? Oh, okay. Wasn't Councilmember Heilman on there? He was on many of the councils. Oh, okay.
He's been here.
Our elder statesman. So a lot of things are working, a lot of things have been working, but as with the issue of homelessness, it is not a WeHo issue, it is a regional issue. It is an LA County issue. Supervisor Horvath is doing a lot to try to revamp the system in terms of her new vision for how to work with our unhoused community members and help them. And you know, I have my MSW, I have a social work background. But for me personally, I don't think it's humane to let people live on the streets, especially when they're clearly in crisis and unable to make decisions for themselves. Refusing services isn't always a choice. It's oftentimes a symptom that we have to look into and attack in a different manner to help that person get into supportive services. And we need to meet people with compassion. But we also need to act. And with that, I say that residents and business owners deserve clean streets. They deserve to want to feel safe. But at the same time, our unhoused community members deserve to have a bed. They deserve to be in a program. They deserve to get the treatment that they need, mental health, medicine, you name it, housing. So we have to find a good middle ground. And I think that this Care First approach is the way to go. And I appreciate Christine and her amazing team for making this come to fruition. And I do support this coordinated response framework because Care First should also mean results. And I do believe that this will lead to results because why? It's creating a one-stop shop that's gonna get everybody talking to each other, all the social services providers. It's gonna be able to link more people to care, to create a continuum level of care for our community members. So I do applaud our social services staff and our incredible stakeholders, our partners in the community, for coming up with this to make sure that nobody falls through the cracks. Because let's be real, previously people were falling through the cracks. And I do believe that with this program, when it comes up and running, there won't be that many people that will fall through the cracks because there will be more checks and balances. But there will be more people, yeah. So that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Erickson.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to uplift some of the things that you talked about, and also thank you and Vice Mayor Heilman for serving on probably what is one of the hardest subcommittees to serve on the City Council. But specifically, I kind of want to talk about the humanity and the economics of this issue that we're facing, right? So economically, and I think some of the public commenters spoke about that tonight, many people today are one paycheck, if not already a paycheck behind, falling behind on their rent, their car payment, their not being able to get gas, afford groceries, and some people, depending on what station in life you are, have to rely on different modes of work to get by, or you may be working multiple jobs, right? So the economics of this is really real. I remember when I was working, I was always working paycheck to paycheck, and so even though I lived in a rent-controlled apartment in West Hollywood, if I didn't have my job, and I was actually an intern at the city at the time, making just fine money, but still have student loans, and you still have everything you have to do. It's a real issue for a lot of us, right? So I want us always to remember that each and every one of us can fall into homelessness at any point in our lives, especially when you become an older adult or if something were to happen to you medically. I mean, there's just instances there. So this is something that I think the humanity always has to be front and center for what we're doing. And I appreciate how the mayor was framing that moving forward. And I also just want to uplift my dear friends from the Trans-Latina Coalition who are out there in the streets, and I read it in the report, but I see it in the data, and I know how much you are out there doing this work, not only sharing your stories, but also talking about the real life experiences that people of all experiences, but specifically our trans and gender non-binary communities are facing even more so now. And so I want to acknowledge that because it is going, with budget cuts and with everything that's been going on, it is going left unsaid sometimes because the point of the current administration is chaos, right? And when you create chaos, just like I see my friend from the LGBT Center in the back, you start looking, you're forgetting about the things that are on the periphery when they should be in the center, right? And so that Care First approach that you have and being a trusted community messenger, so when you show up and you're talking to someone who may be out there on the street not knowing what to do but providing them a meal and most likely employing them, because I know how good you are at your jobs, to getting people into that pipeline, it is commendable. And I think that's why you are as powerful as you are. So I want to just uplift that. And additionally, I even when I served as Mayor Pro Tem, I had an individual, and I think I've shared this story, come up and talk to me, who lives in Poinsettia Park but does not but comes up and hangs out in Plummer Park during the day. Because he feels safer. But obviously he can sleep in Plummer Park, and he goes back down to Poinsettia Park. But it took me 2.5 months to get one person into permanent supportive care. And that was using every position of privilege I sit on. And that means that there were 69,999 other people on the streets, if you use the 70,000 figure that we always hear, not getting individualized care. And sadly, we all know individuals in the community that are facing issues, behavioral, mental, substance, and they're saying no. And that's currently the way the law is, because they get to say no. And as the former president of the ACLU of Southern California, I do respect the ability to someone to say no, to know what they're doing with their own rights. So, and I have been on the other end of the ACLU, and they were suing people saying, no, you're forcing them, and the ACLU wins for very specific reasons. But I do want to say that if it took a mayor pro tem of a city to get one person like that long into Inside Safe, they wanted to go into Inside Safe in Los Angeles. They felt safer there. They did not, I said we could help you with Essentia, we have all these orgs. They didn't want to. They had very specific parameters. That's horrible, right? And then I worry about what I believe Fanny was saying, so acting Captain Lapkin, sorry. But you know, if we give misdemeanors, that also can prevent them from getting into supportive care facilities, or if they have a dog or an animal companion. It's a confluence, it's the perfect storm. And it's, you know, I appreciate what our supervisors are doing and what we're trying to do up here. And I appreciate the bold look that I think we're trying to do. So I support the item itself, but I just wanted to bring us back to the humanity and the economics of the issue that, you know, many of our seniors are wondering what they're going to eat at night. And many young people themselves are worrying about how they're going to get food because they're working day in and day out. So that's where my framework for this will always be. I will never support criminalizing care. I will never support adding more law enforcement to deal with homelessness services. And I will never support finding further ways to criminalize it. I'm not saying that we're doing that up here, by the way, but I will never support finding ways to bring people, because we see it doesn't work with the lights and the sirens. They should be helping fight crime and do all the work that they need to do, rather than deal with the thing that needs to be done with science and compassion and care. So that's it. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Meister?
Yeah, thank you. So I don't recall, did you discuss in the report that we will be continuing with rental assistance programs and, you know, things like Project Angel Food, where we deliver meals to people who could be on the verge of homelessness, as Councilmember Erickson said, and by providing this assistance, we are keeping them in their homes.
Right, we don't really address that in the report, but that's part of our division's larger social services programs, and that is a core part of the work of the City of West Hollywood.
Right, and that's an important way that we do keep people in their homes.
That is correct.
Okay, and then my last question is, on the shared database, did you I understand you'd be sharing among the agencies and departments and sheriffs. Are we talking about also sharing, say, with the city of Beverly Hills? Or thinking about that? I assume you're having organizations sign MOUs about, you know, privacy issues with the database, just like disaster case managers do, because there's so many different organizations that may be providing help. So, so what I'm wondering is if it would make sense for us to at least maybe think about piloting this shared database with the city of Beverly Hills, because they are, you know, a close neighbor, and they are a smaller city like us, and so it may be more manageable. So because we know that they're, you know, the West Hollywood Beverly Hills boundary doesn't mean that people don't cross Doheny, right?
Right, that's something we would be very happy to look into.
That would be great. Thank you.
I would also obviously think it makes sense to do it with the 3 surrounding district neighbors, but what I understand about the coordination that you're trying to provide is that it's really about creating a system that allows for that we already have the coordinated entry system as a database that is shared across the different service provider areas, but it's really about the folks that we're working with having an ability to communicate who they're working with in the city limits.
That's great.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mayor?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Okay, I have 5 additional points, sorry, and a little bit response to some of my colleagues. I think it would be useful if we, to the extent that you can, if we were provided with a little bit of a breakdown of who we're seeing on the streets in West Hollywood. There's been some discussion of people who are living paycheck to paycheck and people who are economically vulnerable, and I think we do see some of those individuals, but most of those individuals, I think, were pretty successful in getting them into a more stabilized setting fairly rapidly. I think what we're seeing on the street sort of persistently are people who are not just slipping into homelessness because of a lost paycheck or something like that. So the categories that, and I know each individual is different, so we have to recognize that, but there are those who are economically vulnerable, who've lost a job. One approach to them is a very different approach to those who are suffering from mental illness or have long-term substance abuse issues. And I think those are the people that we're seeing more persistently on the street rather than the purely economically vulnerable. And I will add, I know, and I agree with Councilmember Erickson, we don't want to criminalize homelessness, but there is a small segment of homeless individuals who are out there engaging in criminal conduct and preying on other homeless individuals. And I think we do need to address that through a law enforcement response when people are abusing and acting violently towards others. Those individuals need to be addressed in a different way. Going back to the mayor's point about plain clothes and your concerns, I just want to remind that that the most contacts with homeless individuals is from block by block, and they're all, of course, uniformed. So this concern about having healthcare in action or our CARES team have uniforms, it seems like it seems silly to me when the primary contact for so many homeless individuals are already people in uniforms. But I'm certainly open to looking at how that works and whether it does lead to more service resistance. I also wanted to respond to the comment about making people and people being comfortable on the street. I don't want people to be comfortable on the street. Yes, I want us to be compassionate, but I want us to get people into services. So that's what my comment was about enabling. Yes, we want people to feel safe. We want to feel comfortable if they have to remain on the street, but we don't want them to feel so comfortable that they resist services and they resist going into the kind of programs that will really help them. We see this during times of really serious inclement weather. That's when homeless individuals oftentimes are more willing to accept services because it is so uncomfortable on the street. And then my final point, and it goes back to Councilmember Erickson about people living in the community, paycheck to paycheck, some looking for where their next meal is going to be. I think that's something we definitely need to look at when we compare the amount of resources we dedicate for homeless services, oftentimes with people who repeatedly refuse services. That money could be allocated to keeping people who are residing in West Hollywood sheltered and fed and with more supportive services. So that's something that we're going to have to balance as we go forward. But I just wanted to make that point, and thank you, Mayor, for your indulgence and
No, I
your
appreciate that.
patience.
Thank you. And you raised a good point about weather, and it was something I wanted to ask actually about sort of the timing and coordination. But I think the level of coordination that we're talking about through this new plan offers opportunity to provide more thoughtful interventions ahead of major storms, coordinate better with the different facilities that we have available. And as you're saying, it's a great intervention moment for that to happen. So. Are there any other comments? I thought Councilmember Meister, did you? Okay, no. Councilmember Hang, okay, I think we.
Can I say one last? I'll just say one last thing, and that is I have experienced homelessness. I've been homeless, fortunately, for a short period of time. I didn't have the underlying mental health issues, although you might disagree. I didn't have the substance abuse issues that some people have, and I know it's a terrible situation. So I really want to make sure that we keep people out of homelessness and that we address people who are homeless by getting them into services and back into a sheltered environment. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And we know when people are unhoused for longer periods of time, it becomes more difficult to provide the services and rehouse. And so all the interventions that we provide to keep people in their house and from that happening is essential. And we're in a tough situation of having a high number of acute needs in the community that we can work to better solve. So I appreciate the discussion tonight. It looks like we have somebody offering a motion, but I wanted to make sure everybody feels good about the conversation. This was a study session on our homelessness strategy, the first for many years, and I know there's future conversations to come, but again, just thank you to staff, to all of our service providers and first responders for being out here, being available for the discussion tonight, and to the members of the public for engaging as well.
Mayor, do we need to add the additional direction as requested by Vice Mayor Hallman to the motion?
What's the additional?
I think the additional direction was for our subcommittee to continue to look at issues and to get additional information. But since this is a study session, do we really need a motion, or do you want a motion?
On the recommendation.
We do need a motion on the recommendations. We had a second recommendation, which was a request for you to provide direction on how the updated policy guidance should be formally documented and preserved. And so some of that is through the minutes of this meeting, obviously. But we as staff might suggest recommending a report back to you within about 90 days with an outline for implementation of the guidance in here and providing what we can as quickly as we can so we can begin moving forward.
Works for me.
Can we include that idea of looking at timelines?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So we're supportive of the first recommendation. You've got what you needed for the second. Anything else you need from us?
No, and we'll incorporate Vice Mayor Heilman's advice for the subcommittee as well.
Oh, we'll keep our work going.
Yeah.
Don't you worry. Okay, great. We have. You just vote. Okay.
Thank you again, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you all. Okay. We've done a lot to change this agenda tonight, so I believe I can flip to the last page. We don't have any. Oh, go ahead.
Mayor, before the fire department and sheriffs leave, I know that Jackie thanked everyone involved, but I don't know if she thanked you, and I wanted to make sure we thanked you for all of your work this last weekend. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Happy Pride.
We do not have any items on excluded consent. I believe we have somebody signed up for public comments. Kelly Pilarski.
Hi, thank you for taking my public comment. I apologize, I'm a little late, but I was watching, and I decided to come down tonight. So this is just a reminder. Thank you to our public safety providers and everyone that put that report together. I did read it. Page every page of it, and I had a moment today when I was thinking through what I could do to be a part of the solution. So I wanted to just remind our council members how important it is that we are also part of the solution. So every night I take my dog for a walk and I say hi to Brian, and I say hi to Keith, and I say hi to Paul. They sleep in they sleep in Poinsettia Park. And I check in on them and I see, how they're doing, and then I catch them up on the recent events, and I make sure that they have something to eat. And I think, and then today I dropped off a bunch of feminine products at Covenant House because they're pretty low on feminine products these days. So if there's anything that we can do as people, it's important to think about that each day and bring the humanity back into the conversation. So if you do see somebody that's homeless, that's having a hard time, I've always found that the best thing to do is to say hello to them and ask them their name. Maybe they're having a hard time and bleeding from the face, and they might not talk in the same cadence as you, and you might be a little bit nervous about what they're going to do. But as soon as you approach them and ask them their name, it's always the best place to start. So as we move through Holloway House, I'm very excited about that. As you move through the recommendations, just remember that these are people with stories and histories and futures. Thanks so much.
Thank you. We will move to councilmember comments and meeting attendance reports. Who would like to begin? Councilmember Erickson.
Thank you so much. I attended several events and meetings throughout the last couple of weeks, but none obviously stand out more than WeHo Pride, and then I attended World Pride, which is why I'm so tired as a result, because I flew home very early this morning. I do want to thank all of the staff and the community members, especially the communities in the surrounding neighborhoods of WeHo Park, because they put up with some loud bass and some thumping for 72 to maybe longer hours, and I appreciate their patience, but also their support of the event every year. World Pride was very beautiful and anticlimactic at the same time, because it was really hard to be there while seeing parts of our community get ripped up here back in California and Los Angeles. And so it was really great to be there with our amazing staff. Thank you to JJLA, our public safety responders, all the businesses, which were so wonderful this past year. And I do want to just state that, as we all know, ICE raids are sweeping across Los Angeles County, targeting our immigrant neighbors and tearing families apart and spreading fear in the very places we call home. And I'm proud to know that David Huerta, SEIU president, was released earlier today, but he was arrested, and he has been a lifelong warrior for immigrant justice, labor, and dignity, and this is only the beginning of the terrorization that we continue to see. It's a continuation of the terrorization, not just the beginning, but the work that we have to do is still under threat. And so just a quick reminder that if ICE comes to your door, do not open it. Ask them to slide a warrant under the door. If it is not signed by a judge, you are not legally required to let them in. You have the right to remain silent and the right to speak to an attorney and the right to not sign anything. A lot of people have been asking us what we are doing, and the most important thing that we can be doing right now is standing in solidarity with communities that are being attacked, especially from positions of privilege, but also to make sure we're doing all that we can to remind people about education, education, education. Because when you are in those situations and you get thrown to the ground by someone, everything in your mind goes. So you have to keep telling yourself what your rights are, right? And always ask for a lawyer. And it's scary, it's horrible, but if you see ICE in your communities, please call the Rapid Response Network. The number is 1-800-343-5550. It is available 24/7. Or you could call Churla's Rapid Response Hotline, which is 1-888-624-4752. And if you are able to, please donate to these organizations. These are non-profits at the end of the day, and resources are wearing thin. I want ICE out of our communities. I do not support them. I would say other words about ICE right now, but we've passed a decorum rule, so I will not get yelled at or won't get an angry email from our lovely residents, or maybe just one in particular later tonight. But I want to make sure that people know that I have this sign right here that we got ICE out of LA, ICE out of West Hollywood, get ICE out of here. You do not belong here. Leave my communities and leave my friends alone. And whatever we can do as a city, we'll do. Thank you to the comms team and everyone else that works so proactively, and to our mayor and other people that showed up today at downtown. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Hang?
Thank you, Mayor. I attended various events throughout our community. I swore in various commissioners and board members in our community. And one of a few of the most important events that I attended in our community, one was the West Hollywood Building and Safety Open House. I met a lot of the staff. They do a lot of work. I commend that entire division and their bosses because they have a very heavy workload keeping us all safe. We don't know their names. We don't know who they are, but they're the ones who's making sure that our buildings are safe when we move into them. They're making sure that our offices are safe. They're doing the Lord's work that no one knows who they are. So I commend our city staff. I also attended our West Hollywood Pride. I just wanted to thank our entire city staff. Laura, Byrie, and Paula were working the entire weekend, as was Danny and Vito and his team. Helen and Public Works, they were working all weekend, making sure there were no bombs in the trash cans. That's why I learned that we have clear trash cans, so that way we can see what's in the trash cans during Pride. So it came off without a hitch. I thank everybody, our public safety first responders, our sheriffs, our fire, our block by block. Thank you very much for keeping us all safe. I also attended World Pride, which was amazing. It was an honor to represent West Hollywood on the international world stage. And with regards to what's been happening this past 2 weeks, I should say, prior to this weekend, last weekend, 28 AAPI individuals were arrested and deported back to Taiwan. The media didn't report on it that much. I was disgusted then, and I'm still disgusted now. I'm deeply shocked and disturbed by the recent actions targeting our undocumented immigrant neighbors. They're hardworking people who are simply trying to build better lives for themselves and for their families. These cruel, fear-driven orders from President Trump do not reflect the values this country was built on. We are a nation of immigrants. Last I checked, the Pilgrims came here. Our communities are made stronger, not weaker, by those who come here seeking safety, opportunity, and a better future. As the son of refugees, I think of my own parents. My mom and dad left the Vietnam War. My mom was on a boat for 2.5 weeks before she was picked up by the Coast Guards. She was on a paddle boat. And then she spent 2 years in a refugee camp before she was sponsored here by the church to come to the United States. People will risk their lives to come to this country. So this hits home for me. My parents were refugees who fled the Vietnam War and came to the United States with nothing but hope in their pockets. There was no money, there was just hope. Their story, like so many others, is the story of this country. I also strongly condemn President Trump's decision to federalize 4,000 National Guard troops and deploy hundreds of US Marines in response to growing public outcry. It only escalates tension and undermines the very freedoms that we claim to uphold. Now more than ever, we must speak up. The right to protest is a cornerstone of our democracy. It's protected by the Constitution, and it's how we hold power accountable. If you choose to raise your voice, I plead with you to please do it peacefully. There's no place for violence against anyone. Protest with purpose, stand strong, and lead with compassion. I stand firmly with our undocumented immigrant communities. You belong here. You deserve dignity, safety, and respect, not raids, fear, or militarized crackdowns. Cruelty is not leadership, compassion is. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Meister?
Thank you, Mayor. In terms of attendance, I attended various Pride events, and I want to thank staff and our public safety partners for making everyone feel welcome and safe in our city. In terms of, I'll talk about the No Kings Rally in West Hollywood Park. as Karen Ayers was kind enough to mention. My sister Debbie and I have decided to organize a No Kings rally June 14th, which is a Saturday, this coming Saturday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., West Hollywood Park off of San Vicente Boulevard. You know, watching the news, there was just nothing else that we felt would be more important to do than to have this rally here in our city in West Hollywood so that our residents and business owners and visitors could feel like they could be safe in West Hollywood for a peaceful rally. Some of our speakers, although don't hold me to it because sometimes people don't show, but we're going to hope that they all do. West Hollywood council members, our mayor and vice mayor and council members, Congressmember Laura Friedman, Lambda Legal Chief Legal Officer Jenny Pizer, First Amendment and Civil Rights Attorney Adam Zeef, actor and activist Rosanna Arquette, actor and activist Mike Farrell, screenwriter and director and LGBTQ rights activist Dustin Lance Black, and last but not least, Pickle, WeHo's drag laureate, and the only king that we should ever be celebrating is a drag king.
Yeah.
We have no kings in the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Heilman.
Yes, I also attended a variety of Pride-related events. I want to thank JJLA, our staff, our public safety partners, and the businesses and community for accommodating this wonderful festival and celebration and parade. I want to thank all of the riders in the AIDS life cycle for their work and raising critical funds that are even more critical today as the Trump administration cuts back funding for and eliminates funding for HIV prevention and care. I want to thank my colleagues who were able to go to World Pride and represent West Hollywood so effectively. I have a number of friends in DC and they all love the city's float and they love seeing my colleagues there. I agree with Councilmember Hang's comments on the ICE raids. It's just another one of the appalling acts that is coming out of the current administration. And then finally, I wanted to ask our staff to look into Rick Watt's comments about the Lambda flag, or rather the rainbow flags that we have along Santa Monica Boulevard. I know that they periodically need to be replaced because they get weather beaten, and maybe we should look at the next replacement, replacing them with the more up-to-date progress flags. And I'm hoping, I see Jackie nodding her head, so hopefully that can be put into the hopper of our work, but thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for a productive discussion tonight. Yeah, there's a lot to sort of process. WeHo Pride was so fabulous. We're so fortunate to have such an amazing series of events, starting with the Arts Festival, Harvey Milk Day. I'm so grateful to all of the partnership that goes into making something like that happen. JJLA, our law enforcement, L Project. I mean, the role that the media played truly just to help amplify our story, being so coordinated and really delivering that sort of resource to us. To have KTLA broadcast WeHo Pride on primetime at 8 p.m. on a Sunday, alongside different interviews and stories about the city's history and our 40-year commitment legacy to, safeguarding LGBTQ rights and being a place where all people feel welcome. It's just so special and really a new threshold, I think, for us as a city in terms of what we're putting out there for this region. And to take that energy to World Pride the next weekend in DC, to lock arms with folks from around the world, many of which who have never lived in a country or a state that has support for them as LGBTQ people, but to be together in the face of an administration that dare try to erase us was so moving and powerful. And to be doing all of these things while these immigration raids are happening, we know what we're experiencing in Los Angeles are things that other communities have already experienced, New York, Chicago, all around the country. These raids are taking place, and they are devastating communities and so disruptive to lives, to families, to local economies. There's every reason for us to be drawing a fierce line in the sand and making sure that this is not something we stand for and tolerate. And I think we do that so well by connecting with each other. As Councilmember Erickson reminded us, we have to know our rights. We have to share this information. There are tools that we can access within ourselves that'll transform the moments that we may face when it comes to our dealing with these ICE immigration officials. And the more that we, as often people with privilege, can help share that information with others, the better. So I really appreciate all the remarks tonight in service of this moment. I heard these words, my partner shared them, and Rick Watts actually shared something very similar earlier, that the progress flag has been evolved for a reason. It has added these black and brown colors as a reminder of our joint solidarity. And I don't think it's a surprise that for us as a region, so much of this is happening in the face of Pride Month, and that it's really a choice for us to define what solidarity looks like. And I bring this back to issues that we've been facing as our own community, the ways that we're, unkind to each other and really seek to sort of, erase each other in our own experiences because we may share different opposing points of views. I shared a message from the stage Friday night at our WeHo Pride that I truly believe kindness is one of the biggest acts of protest that we can have right now in the face of such cruelty. To choose kindness when it is abundantly available to do anything else right now, and permissibly, so it seems, I really think is a choice. And so I just appreciate the way our community is rallying around that theme, being kind to yourself, being kind to each other, being kind to those who do not share similar opinions or thoughts. The code of conduct that we started last month is a commitment to us all to make sure that this room itself can feel bigger and more full of people who have felt like they can't come into this space because it is not a space of kindness. I am very committed to making sure that can be different, and I hope others will join me in that. I think it is something we must continue to do. And while it seems so small as ICE raids are happening and all of this protest activity is happening through the streets, kindness is truly at the heart of what nonviolent resistance is about. It's about this fierce love and care for each other that understands that that is the strongest weapon and tool we have to use in the face of that which will otherwise seek to destroy us. So I really appreciate the solidarity and connection I feel from us as a council with the events that we took place at WeHo Pride, the sense of commitment shared from our city staff in making such ambitious, wonderful, and globally recognized events possible for such a small but mighty city. It's truly remarkable. I'm deeply heartened while I am deeply troubled by what's happening, but I will lean into the heart and go out and cause that good trouble. So thank you all so much for a great meeting tonight. We will adjourn this to the 23rd, where we have some items that were on agenda tonight continued. So we'll look forward to being back here at 6 p.m. on the 23rd for our next council meeting. Thank you all.